Hello, Mario. Hello, Mario. Hello, Mario.
Yeah, shit is broken on my end tonight, chat. How about that? Another night of scuff here, because for some reason, my stream deck is being a little, is being a petulant child, and it won't do what I need it to do.
Well, what would be a stream without the scuff?
Yeah, you know what? That would be a good stream, maybe.
Oh my god, the share screen looks so blurry on my end.
Well, that's probably how I shared it. Hold on just a second. Chat, I was gonna start with something funny, but, well, hold on just a second. I got something fun to show, don't worry. It is the peak of wrestling merchandise.
It's still blurry, that's so weird.
That's really weird. I'm sorry, I don't have time to fix it right now. We gotta get going.
We truly are stuff.
Oh wait, I know what to do. There you go.
There we go.
I had to enlarge the picture. Yeah.
See clearly now the rain is gone.
But no, I want to start with this. Let's just pretend everything is working and let's start from the beginning. Okay. It's over, chat. It's so over. It's so over. And what is it? It is wrestling merch. Because today I saw... Ow. I'm not even going to have a big preamp. I'm just going to come on up. Hi, everyone.
Where did it come from?
My name's Giraffacid. I'm the president of the Longboy Club. Ow! The very large enjoyer of all things gaming, wrestling. No, I'm not going to say big man children. because I hate those. And my stinky cat. Tonight, we're continuing with more Yakuza Like a Dragon, and you know, I have Nelson here with me again. Hey Nelson.
Hey guys, K947 aka Wolfkin here.
And I have no big preamble. I just need to show all of you this, because wrestling merch has peaked, I'm afraid. We can no longer move forward. The only direction we can move at this point is backwards. The best idea has just been slid to my front desk here.
You need to see this.
And I have nothing more to add to it besides showing you it. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, I give you the translucent John Cena action figure. The newest John Cena action figure from WWE's Elite Collection of figures. It is literally clear plastic molded into John Cena.
You know what's the funny part about this? And I know somebody will probably laugh at this. You could probably paint over this.
You probably could. You probably could make... yes. Yes. It's a make-your-own John Cena action figure.
I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably make one of your fucking people.
I don't think... Actually, no. Shining Wizard would be more buff than that. He has the magic that he recently gave to Gira in Wrestling Empire. So, that's a whole other thing. We're not playing Wrestling Empire tonight. We're playing something else. We're playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. But, like, we can't move forward beyond this. We've gotten too meta. We've gotten too experimental. The only direction we can move now is backwards.
Wait, why am I hearing Wii music?
Because that's the music I have in the background just for, like, audio stimulation for me.
Oh, fair enough. I was like, wait a minute, why do I hear the Wii menu?
It's the Wii U menu, Nelson. Come on now.
Oh yeah, the Wii U. You're right.
I thought you were a real gamer.
I haven't played the Wii U in years, honestly.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm actually going to be pulling out my Wii U here soon to play Sonic and the Secret Rings multiplayer. Not
Hello,
for stream. Hello, Doomslayer. Hello, One Ponytail as well.
Hey, Doomslayer.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Homeboy Club meeting.
Really should probably break up my Wii U to mod it.
I put homebrew shit on there a long time ago, and I need to put that thing full
Hello,
of just
Mario.
ROMs again. You said you were a gamer.
No, seriously, I should, because that way I can get GameCube games running natively off of the Wii U.
Yeah, that way you can play it on a system and not through you know, Dolphin. Although Dolphin's great, but I don't know, there's just something nice about, you know, being able to play it on a console.
Yeah, I like playing off of hardware. That's always been my thing. I prefer to play it off of original hardware if I can.
Stev, I only play mobile games. No.
Who's here after the 24-hour PSN blackout? Me. I want to play the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, and I fucking can't. Sony.
Well, you know, I've been hearing good things about the game from those who have been able to play it, like my friend Drac. Apparently you have more mounts in this. You got dinosaurs now that you can run along on, which is cool.
Yeah, the secrets.
Mm-hmm. I wanna play Wilds when it comes out. I think that would be a fun little group stream that wouldn't require all of my attention.
You know, I'm gonna be playing it the very day it comes out. Like,
hell yeah.
I'm gonna do my usual thing with World, like I did, where I do like a first impressions, like 5 videos, just playing through the beginning portions, and then because I'm not gonna play through this whole thing for a video. I want to play the game for myself, but I do want to give my first impressions.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, I play games sometimes. Well, according to what I see on socials, the blackout is over. And PSN is back online.
Finally.
Hey, there you go. Oh, but you know what's also online, and this is one more thing that, like, one more thing I'll be showing before we get going. Nelson wanted to show me this fun little thing in where this guy has, like, 3 fucking Dobermans, and they're just absolute goobers. So, before we get into tonight's main show, I want to see the doggies first. And I want to know why this guy has a friggin' alien mask on. Hold on.
Yeah, these are great.
Can you believe somebody had the nerve to ask me which one of my dogs' name was Bear? Okay. I guess there's only one way to find out. Hopefully I don't get hurt from this because I got to watch my Bills play on Sunday. So Bills, if you're watching, it's Bills Mafia, baby. Let's go. Nazi!
Scooby-Doo looking MF. He went! He went for it. Oh,
This is the first time Yep, that's their smaller dog, Junior.
little one.
You ain't scared of nothing, are you, buddy? You ain't scared of nothing, are you, buddy?
Also, rip the Bills.
Oh, you there. Come here.
Whoa! That one was Bear, wasn't it?
Which one's Bear?
Dude, I love how the big one, it like took him a minute. And meanwhile, like, you know, the smaller one, Junior, like he was like just playful. Meanwhile, Bear knows the score. He ran in and he knew what was up. He was just like, fuck this, and we're just like skipping the preamble. There's no pageantry. I'm just gonna fucking kill you.
Exactly. He would. In the other video I sent you was fucking just as bad.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a mod, but I'm pretty sure it's a mod, Doomslayer.
Yes.
We got Joe Henry and Tekken before Jason.
There's zero chance that they're putting in Joe Henry and Tekken 6 for like
Especially
real.
when the last character has already been announced and they haven't announced a year 2 yet.
Mm-hmm. Hold on just a second. We're gonna... And then this. I want to know why there's a skeleton.
So Bear should tear this up the way he be tearing me up. So that's what I'm about to test. All right, I just want to see like
before Junior was around,
okay,
so it's just these two.
Okay. This guy just loves Dobermans.
Yep.
Hmm. Okay, which one is this? What's their name?
That's Nox.
I love Nox. I love how pensive Nox is. He's so curious. Aww.
He's going.
Dude. He's just
what
killing.
would happen if he never fought back? If he just let it happen.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I would be that way too. Like, man, this is how my dogs see me.
This is what would happen if I never told my dog stop.
Fatu started his own iteration of the NWO Wolfpack. I have full confidence that Fatu is going to eventually kind of usurp Solo a little bit and kind of become the head of the second bloodline, because more people have, rather, like, Fatu has kind of showed up more than Solo, just in terms of like what he brings to the table. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, just through sheer force of will, Jacob Fatu kind of just becomes the new head of the Bloodline 2.0. And I need to call it Bloodline 2.0, otherwise I'm going to get myself confused.
Oh, and also, you're going to laugh at this one. That dog that you like, Nox.
Yeah.
He has a blankie.
Oh, he has a blankie?
Yep, that dog actually has a blanket that it'll carry around from time to time.
That's so cute. Oh, I love Nox. I'm a big fan of Mr. Nox. The Liu Mang man.
Like everyone loves Nox because, like, the expressions that he gives, everybody's like, nah, that dog was human at one point, like, in a previous life.
Are you talking about like the
man?
Are you talking about like the actual NWO Wolfpack, or just kind of like a more ferocious bloodline because, you know, the bloodline was already pretty, like, ferocious, so...
Oh.
Nonomiya really didn't seem the type to kill himself.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. I would have jumped on that place no matter how big a loan I needed.
Seriously?
I mean, we're already doing the funeral.
The guy was sitting on a mountain of cash and he just threw himself off.
Remember, we ended off with this guy committing suicide, so...
Yeah, I know.
Group
Taking
talking
his
this
life.
way at a funeral.
Money does things to people. They know a soap land can be a ticket to riches.
Can't you start one just by submitting some paperwork?
Well, it's gotten a lot stricter. A new soap land has to be more than 200 meters from any school, hospital, or library. There's no downtown real estate that meets that criteria. Not a single lot. So, functionally, it's impossible to open a new soap land.
What about the old ones that have been around forever?
They got grandfathered in.
So Nonomiya's death is another precious soap land down the drain.
I mean, it didn't have to be. He could have sold it and made a huge profit just like those guys said. I really don't understand why he did himself in.
Me neither. There must have been something terrible going on. Something even worse than Nanoha's situation. I really think he was more of a sensitive guy than he ever let on.
Excuse me, sensitive?
Fourth party member?
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah.
Nanoha-san? Is that you?
Whoa, look at her. She's feeling a lot
Man!
better. No more stress about her dad. And she went shopping. Yeah, she looks great. Pretty sexy.
Shut up!
Bro, it's a funeral.
Respects you, moron. Grow the fuck up.
Nanoha-san, you should know.
You always gotta have that one friend that speaks out of pocket.
He absolutely would have Staying Alive playing on his phone.
Expecting to find
At a funeral.
him there, but he'd already hung himself.
Yeah, I heard you guys just now saying he was sensitive. Come on, we all know he wasn't the greatest guy. And he was selfish, too. But that's why I think there's no way he killed himself.
Damn, Nanoha-san. I know you're still going through a lot, but is this really the time to trash the guy?
Don't lecture me like that. You don't even know me.
What is Nanoha's deal? Wow.
We don't know you?
No, you don't. I'm Saeko.
All right, so is Psycho your nickname or something? I don't get it.
No, I'm saying that you and I have never met before, okay? Do you get it now, Gramps?
Gramps? Come on, Nanoha.
Okay, you obviously don't get it. Maybe Four Eyes over there can figure it out?
Four Eyes? No, I can't say I get it at all.
Well, the simple answer is they're twins, right?
We have a winner. You're smarter
Oh.
than you look back there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Nanoha's sister.
Seeing as you're Nanoha's twin,
Do you have the same, job as she does?
I'm not for sale, if that's what you're asking. I'm a bartender. At a cabaret club that Nonomiya owned, actually.
Jeez, he owned a cabaret club and a soap land?
Yeah, you may not have looked it, but he was actually one of the top dogs in Ijincho's red light district. Now that he's gone, I guess both my club and Otohime land are probably gonna shut down.
Was it just a coincidence that you and your sister both worked in his establishments?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's crazy, but I didn't even know that Nanoha was working at... at his brothel.
You didn't know?
I had no idea. I only found out a few days ago. And I still don't understand. If I'd known she needed money to take care of her dad, I'd have gladly given her some.
how could you not know? I mean, you're sisters, aren't you? What gives?
You might say we had a complicated relationship. See, I left home when I was young, and I never looked back.
You just cut your family off?
That was how it had to be. But I had no idea my sister was working at Otohime Land.
I mean, Nonomiya had to know the two of you were related.
I'm sure he did. It's obvious we're twins. And apparently he actually did tell Nanoha that I was working at his cabaret club. But she asked him to keep her job a secret from me, no matter what.
Well, not a real surprise, seeing as you were estranged.
Then a few days ago, Nonomiya called me, sounding really worried. He said my sister and dad were in a tight spot, that they were trapped in some kind of Yakuza scam.
That must have been a scary way to find out about the trouble your sister was in.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, we haven't talked in years. And now I'm really worried. I mean, Nonomiya broke his promise to her by telling me she works for him. So Dad and Nanoha must be in really deep trouble.
They were, but it's all good now. No need to worry.
No need to worry. Wait, are you the ones who helped my family? That would make you Kasuga-san, Adachi-san, and Nanba-san. I owe you guys so much.
You knew our names this whole time? You do realize your family's alive because of us?
Look, I really am grateful. Thank you.
It seems like you haven't talked to Nanoha-san about any of this.
No, I haven't. And I feel like it might be better if I just keep pretending I don't know about it.
Hey, I just thought of something important. When Nonomiya told you about your sister, did you say it was by phone?
Yeah?
Well, that would be pretty damn close to the moment he hung himself.
Oh, yeah. I knew that already. Later on, I realized that phone call ended just moments before he died.
Whoa.
That's what I was trying to tell you before. That phone call is why I know there's no way he committed suicide.
So, wait, what exactly did he say to you?
So there's more to it.
What? You have your employees doing that?
Basically.
Oh god, these cutscenes from Zero.
It's a racket run by the Seiryu clan. They're threatening to kill your father if she doesn't pay them.
Wait, are you serious? And did you just say Nanoha is working at your soap land? Why didn't you tell me before?
I'm sorry. She asked me not to. I feel like shit for ratting on her even now. But at this point, the secret's kinda out.
Okay, just let me think. First of all, are they seriously asking for all that money in one lump sum? I don't have that kind of cash. I guess I could ask around.
We don't have time to try and raise money. We just have to put our faith in these new guys I hired. Maybe they'll pull a miracle out of their ass. You know, Psycho? I think they might actually do it.
Why do you think that? Who are these guys anyway?
They're like,
Sorry, but when I listen to this guy, all I hear is Rigby.
And an ex-detective. I know it sounds shady, but they're good guys. Tough, too. They're risking their lives for Nanoha.
Is the ex-Yakuza that Kasuga-san you mentioned before?
Yeah. He hasn't let me down so far. Huh? Hold on, I heard something.
Oh, is it a customer?
Benson killed him.
Hold on, hon. Hello? Hey, what are you doing? Whoa!
He got fired permanently.
Stop! Don't just barge in!
Boss?
Stop! Stop!
Boss?
老妈，老妈，他在这里，老妈。
I think that's supposed to be Chinese, so...
I think those guys from like earlier in the game in Chapter 2 are coming back.
That was
Yeah, they're Leo Mong.
I don't think we're
Yeah.
done with them.
What happened at the end there?
I don't know. The voices sounded angry. I think they were speaking Chinese.
And this is how you know it wasn't a suicide.
Yeah.
But if these Chinese guys killed him,
Thank you for dismissing
why
the
did they try
ad.
to make it look like a suicide?
Well, I don't want to find out. Let's just tell the police about this.
I already did. I got interviewed by a detective who
We'll
found
play the
my
ad
number
after
in
the
Nonomiya's
cutscene.
call history. I told him everything I just told you.
So then, why are they still calling it a suicide?
I don't know. But I'll tell you a really weird thing. The detective asked about the Chinese words, so I repeated them. Then he just packed up and left.
Really? Well, let's hear the Chinese.
Sure. I can tell you what I heard, but I don't know what it means. But I do know the words were definitely Lao Ma, Lao Ma.
Lao Ma? What's that?
I just told you I have no idea.
But I do.
No Duolingo exists, right?
Lao Ma is a nickname for one of the bosses in the Yokohama Liumang.
One of their bosses? You're sure?
Yeah. His real name is Mabuchi.
That's so weird. Why would they be shouting his nickname like that?
Maybe it was his guys who busted into Nonomiya's room to attack him. They might have been calling the Mabuchi because they'd found Nonomiya.
You're trying to imply Mabuchi's behind the murder? But he was on Seiryu clan turf. The Ijin Three don't attack on each other's land.
They don't. So if that pack's been broken, anything could happen now.
Why did the police ignore what Saeko told them?
Maybe the detective didn't know what Lao Ma meant.
No. I think it's the opposite. He stopped the investigation because he knew exactly what it meant.
You mean he was scared?
Not so much scared as loyal. Every detective in Nijincho knows who Lao Ma is. He owns them, really.
What? He bribed all of them?
He pays for a lot of their important family events. Coming-of-age parties, weddings, funerals, you name it. Sends money to their kids, too. Oh yeah, he takes care of them.
What the hell?
Mabuchi, with all these detectives on his payroll, has basically bought access to all their personal information.
He's got his personal herd of cop cattle.
Yep, and milks them whenever he wants. The police are helpless before the Great Wall. And they know it too. Don't go expecting them to do any real investigations where Mabuchi is involved.
Hey, we're forgetting an important question. Why would Mabuchi kill Nonomiya?
Yeah, doesn't seem like it was robbery.
Look at these. It was rare that Nonomiya broke
He
out the full
does
house
what to his
bonuses.
cop cattle?
He got them for us. He trusted us.
Saeko, thanks for telling us what you heard over the phone. I know it'll help.
You know, it's really sad. How I never even realized someone was worrying about me like he was. He worked so hard all those years, only for things to end up like this. I never got along with my dad or my sister. We were always fighting. My mom did the best she could to keep the family together, and it almost worked. But after she died, I just wanted out. Thing is,
She clearly plot.
for all his flaws, Nonomiya is the one who gave me a real home, even when he knew I had abandoned my family. But I kept saying he was garbage. I was so mean to him right up until the end. I never thanked him for what he did, not even once. I mean, I never thought he could just be gone all of a sudden, you know? All my life, I felt pretty alone. But I thought at least I was free. Now I'm starting to realize that I was kidding myself. Because I wasn't actually alone. And to be honest, I wasn't even that free. It feels more like the people around me were suffocating me. Even Nonomiya.
Look, I know you must have felt like he was suffocating you, but if you ask me, that sounds like every other family I've ever come across.
It's so frustrating, because it's like, Nonomiya doesn't deserve my tears. He was a dirty, crass old man. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that nobody should care, that the police can write him off. I mean, it's their job to do something, but they're acting like it's just another suicide. That's not right. I can't do anything. Not by myself. But before Nonomiya died, he told me about how you three risked so much to help my sister and my dad. And I just thought...
I'm guessing that's why you came here to find us. Okay.
Okay, my ass. Are you dragging us into another mess?
You're finally starting to understand me.
You in, Adachi-san?
Me when I'm about to do something stupid.
Against a guy even the police are
I mean,
scared
that's
of.
me whenever I'm around y'all a lot of the time.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
So, that settles it.
Literally a perfect situation of in for a penny, in for a pound.
Sachan.
Yeah.
Let's do this together. That work for you? From here on out, you don't have to feel alone anymore. Welcome to the party.
Oh my god. Even when he's being, like, sincere, he's a dork. I love him. He's so based.
I see why a lot of people at first were like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this new guy, but then after the game came out, everyone's like, okay, you know what? He's fucking amazing.
He's so endearing. What is not to love about him?
It's just the idea of him replacing Kiryu as the main star of this series. That's why a lot of people were like unsure at first.
You're right, it's fucking awesome.
Exactly. But then when the game came out and people started learning his character, everybody's like, you know what? Never mind. This guy's amazing.
He is.
Keep him. We wanted more of him.
But you know what we need more of as well?
Yeah,
George Wood.
It's break time. Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raw rolls on after this. Also, Doomslayer. To go back to what you were asking earlier, I didn't answer because I wanted to, like, watch the cutscene.
Note to self.
Oh boy, okay, I need to answer it over fucking Gex.
Gex. Enter the gecko.
I feel like that we're beyond the need for, like, 90s pastiches in wrestling, right?
Except for this one. Gex has
I feel like we're kind of beyond that point.
His wisecracks and random comments are amusing, even if the gameplay itself.
The Bloodline being their own thing, I feel
To put it
is
simply, Gex has
a
very
bit more
nice
beneficial
3D
than just
graphics,
trying to do,
both
like, you know,
technically and artistically.
an NWO
Sucky
Wolfpack
control of
pastiche.
movement and
The
tough
NWO
challenge.
Wolfpack is a
Is the
lot
game
less
worth
vicious than
buying?
people
Well,
remember them to
yeah,
be,
well,
honestly.
maybe. This is a tricky.
They were meant to be kind of the more
superficial
hip and cool
qualities are,
NWO.
well, super. The
So,
opening cinema scene is gorgeous as expected.
I can
The
acknowledge
graphics
that
are
as somebody who
good. The
used to
character
watch
is cool.
WCW and
But
stuff
this
like
game
that.
is just another
And I'm with
3D
you,
ROM
like,
that wishes it could
you
be
don't
Mario
need to,
64.
like-
It's a
like,
good
here's the
game.
thing, it's fine
One you
to
should
pay
check
homage
out, but
to
not
past
stellar. The game's
But
biggest
we
fault
don't
is the
need to, like,
camera.
fully replicate
Arguably
it
the
as
worst
well,
camera
because a
ever
lot
in
of
a
the
video
time,
game. Even with 3 different
trying to
camera
replicate
settings,
what was
you'll
already
always have a
done
problem
is
with
a
game
recipe
view.
for disaster
Control
unless you
gets
can
a
find
D,
a way to elevate it.
difficulty gets an A, and design
in
gets a
wrestling's
B.
case, I
Now
just
let's
think
hear
it's
some
more
of
like
Gex's goofball
we sort of
off-the-wall
moved
sound
on
bites.
past the point for it. Wrestling is in a good place where it can stand on its own without needing to
The princess is here.
bring in the passive return, you know?
Oh, I agree. But
Oh,
I'm
nom nom.
also saying
Oh,
that
excuse
if a
me, we're
group-
back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to Raw.
Yeah, it's like if a group can elevate it in some way, like do their own, like do something new with it, I'm not against the idea.
Wow, that's real scary, guys.
It's really hard to, like, have straight thoughts over Gex, sorry.
Welcome to this week's episode of
I mean,
Touched
look
by
at
an
MJF for an example. He has so many homages to
What,
some
did you
of
flunk out
the
a nasty camp?
greats in both heels and faces, and yet finds a way to mix it into his own.
Yes.
I mean, hell, people were fucking going hype over a double clothesline. Something so basic that would only be hyped up for back in the golden era of wrestling.
It's because MJF has like a once-in-a-generation level of charisma. No one else could get that over except for him, you know?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the kind of thing. Like, dude, Hulk Hogan. I know bringing up this name is kind of taboo, but Hulk Hogan doing a leg
Fuck that
drop
Hulk
is
Hogan.
what's seen as the biggest thing back then. So something as basic as a double clothesline being made as like the biggest thing in that time frame was insanity, but it was great.
Fuck that son of a bitch, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, that's why I said you literally turned a move from like as old as the Golden Era into something hype, and that's insane.
I feel like the better thought process would be Jacob Fatu leading his own faction, which I feel like should probably be a thing, because I feel like when you compare both him and Solo, Jacob is just he's like more of a complete package, because Solo is pretty one note when it comes to his wrestling style, whereas Fatu is a little more flexible by comparison, and he also just kind of has a bit more of a compelling, or rather a bit more of a compelling character than Solo is. In general, I prefer Jacob over Solo. That's my baseline right there, I would say. Anyways, let's go and do some stuff that isn't the main story. Why don't we? Adachi-san, do you know where Mabuchi's hideout is? Yeah, so just like the Yakuza, they're not gonna just plaster their name on an office. On top of that, he's a cautious bastard. Word is he doesn't even like meetings. Rather take meetings. So we don't have any leads. I wouldn't say that. You know Restaurant Row, just north of here? But that's where the Liu Meng are known to hang out.
Liu Meng.
Yeah, a Liu Meng. Like a little Chinatown. It's more Chinatown than Chinatown, really. Mabuchi's gotta be hiding something there.
Yeah.
I was starting to get hungry anyways. Don't tell me we're going down there to grab food. Why not? Adachi-san said this is the real Chinatown, so it's gotta be good. We'll see when we get there. Can we actually... Is there actually restaurant options over there? There is one. Well, two, really. Cool, let's go over there. I love what Fatu is doing right now, you know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
There was a tip for Psycho.
Oh, hold on. There we go. The full party is here. We need to get Psycho up to speed. That's crazy. Psycho's strength. Her inherent boldness makes her much more resistant to fear, charm, and silence than most. She's also particularly good at holding her liquor and is therefore less likely to get drunk. Hey there, Bit Gamer.
Hello, Mario.
When Pound Mates does not work. I love that fucking thing there. That's great. If Kasuga is in an area where his smartphone does not receive a signal, he cannot use Pound Mates to call for help. Keep in mind, some enemies emit signal-blocking waves. Signal-blocking waves?! Like there's wavelength interference or something? Oh, hey. Hold on.
Shillboard?
Shillboard. 3 of them, in fact. So what are... I literally thought that said Slobber Knocker for a second. Damages an enemy with a handbag, which may leave them stunned. It's like, what's her special sort of thing? Like, what would he even... It's like, what would he even... Right, like, what would we even... Oh my god, that guy twirled it around. He's talented. It's like, what would we even lump her into? Like, what would her class be? I'll need to check her stats so I can figure out how to min-max her. Let's see. Pigeon Raid. He seems to be resistant to physical. Yeah. The board is like a shield. It looks like.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Which may leave them enraged. Adachi strikes fear into the enemy by letting him know he's serious. This skill has a higher chance to succeed as Adachi's level increases. Let's see if it succeeds here. Jesus Christ! Man, he's resistant. Hold on. Boxer size blow with a punching technique learned from boxer size class. Boundless cheer boosts an ally's attack, raises her attack, and lowers attack. Okay.
It's more support.
So she's support like Nanba a little bit, although Nanba's more like a black mage. So
yeah, pretty much.
Whereas Sayako is more kind of like a white mage, I suppose.
I would say white. I would go more towards blue because she does more debuffs.
Blue. Okay. Okay, how about this? I think I know your weakness, bud. Yeah!
Yes,
the elements. Ladies and gentlemen, business is about to pick up here in Yakuza. Business is about to pick up, my God.
Now you'll need to level up her class because that's level 1 right now.
Man, he's like way
you can
down
check
there.
her class to see what it is.
Let me see what her skills are like. Wait, no, that's specials.
Army.
Holy shit. She is down in the dumps.
Which makes sense.
She's like level.
But again, her class is level 1, unlike everybody else's who's at level 7 with their class.
Let's see here.
Because remember, you increase stats by leveling up and leveling up your class.
Yeah, she kind of stinks. Let's see
now.
Here. Yeah, she kind of. No, I know right now, but I'm saying that she kind of stinks right now. Roster. I had to sneeze. Roster. Are we gonna get more? We'll see.
Yes, the party does get bigger.
Barmaid. Let's see.
If you don't mind me saying it.
You know what? Let's keep it a surprise. Let's keep it a surprise.
No problem.
I just wanted to know if there were more people to get. So, based on this... Okay.
I mean, you'll figure it out as her class levels up, because right now she's kind of like at, baseline.
Sure, yeah. Alright, but we need to get, just kind of, taking inventory of what we have here.
And here we go with the bikes again.
Fuck you, bike. Whoa! Fuck you, bike. I am the lord of the two-wheeled vehicles. Women want me, bikes fear me. Jesus, that's a lot. I
hated that phrase you said just has the same energy of guns don't kill people, I kill people.
What's up here? Nothing. I love how interactable the environments are in this. That's great.
Good old dragon engine.
Now this right here is the dragon engine at work. That's crazy.
Oh, there's some enemies.
They saw me trying to knock the things over.
Oh wait, you're near the traffic. Oh man.
I need to.
Could have knocked him into the traffic if you got closer.
Huh?
I missed.
How'd he miss it, dude? How'd that miss?
Damn.
How the hell did that miss? Whatever. Y'all are way too low level at this point. I can knock you down even if you are
Gave
strong
up.
to things. What the?
Oh my god!
It's alright. We got him. Not this. We're just gonna do a normal
Imagine-
beatdown on him.
Imagine getting clobbered over the head with a gigantic bottle.
Oh my god, he's bleeding profusely. I'd be like, where did he even get that bottle?
I mean,
Where do you find that? Who's selling it?
we're in Japan, so I wouldn't be surprised to see.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be going up real fast, I feel like.
Oh, magic went up.
Okay. Well then yeah,
Magic
she's
went
probably
up due to her job.
well then yeah, it's probably more of like a mage type build. So cool. With that in mind, chat, we gotta go back to school. Alright? We gotta go back to class here so I can earn my degree. Because, you know, I'm a communications
where it was.
major. I'm a communications major. I think this is it
That's
right
not
here.
it. That's the. Isn't that the Sujimon thing?
Let's see here.
Yeah, it's the Sujimon thing.
Well, that's Mahjong. I don't want to do Mahjong. That's stinky. Vocational school. There it is.
Vocational school.
I'm a communications major, and you know what?
Don't you need money for that?
In recent time, yeah, but we'll beat it out of people. In recent times, I learned that there's no money in it, but there's more money in knowing your stuff about Sega video games, which is what we're going to be going to do now. But first, we need money, so we're going to beat it out of these guys.
50,000 for that, I believe.
I'm scared to see. I'm scared to see how... Oh my gosh! Hello. So he's also kind of like a martial artist sort of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Sneak attack. Come on. Come on, reach the other guy. Dude, that thing has... Dude, that thing has pathetic horizontal range. The thing has some pathetic range.
What a name.
Get serious.
See, like... I don't get it. Like... he doesn't even have a thumbtack on him.
Let's go.
Oh my god, you're going into the streets.
Damn. Yeah? Oh, hello.
Oh, you
Hello.
just-
Up your
You
ass!
just hit that guy so hard he literally flipped into the pole.
It's great. Joke's on you. I'm too poor to go back to school. Well, let's
That's
see
a
it.
mood right there.
Let's see if Ichiban is also too poor to go back to school.
That is a mood right there. It's too poor to go back to school.
But in true college student fashion, we're gonna be buying shit we don't need. Who's hungry?
Yeah.
I will take everyone's favorite meal. A single... Wait, no, hold on. I need more than a single scone. I will take coffee and one scone. I'll take a large I'll take a number 9 large. A number 6 with extra dip. At some point, I want to go to, like, not McDonald's, because I'm sworn off of it. I want to go to, like, Wendy's, or... I don't know if Panda Express does, like, numbers, but I'd be getting more into Panda Express. Anyways, I want to go to a restaurant, and I want to try to do, like, their version of Big Smoke's order. At some point in my life.
God. Somebody's actually done that as well. Tried to do like the Big Smoke order and then eat it all. Like, there's so many people who've tried that.
What restaurant did he go to?
Multiple. Because
Oh, so he went to, like, you know, their version of Big Smoke's order.
Not really, because the problem with Big Smoke's order is that a lot of the food that's being ordered isn't just chicken. Holy shit!
Wow! Dude, they're dead! That's crazy. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, she mostly goes up in her magic stat. So,
also dexterity, it looks like. Yeah, because look at
magic-
dexterity and agility.
So magic and dexterity. What exactly does dexterity do for you in this game?
I don't know, so I can't really say.
Let me see here. You can switch them out with each other. Check stats. I need to go to the bar, huh? Well, I'll get Sayeko up to where it needs to be, and then we'll go and do, the missions there. Either we'll do the friendship links.
Agility determines turn order.
Oh, okay. So usually she'll be kind of, you know, first in the turn order. Well, that's actually pretty useful, because then I'll be able to, Ow! Because then I'll be able to, prioritize, you know, going up, or rather, prioritize stat
I got
buffs.
it. Agility determines turn order. Dexterity determines dodge chance.
Try this on the side.
Can you repeat
basically,
that?
higher dexterity, higher chance for an attack to miss.
Okay. Well, she'll be hard to hit then. Ooh, dude, right in his balls. Didn't even need to use any magic. Hell yeah. Impure lead? What's so impure about it? Oh, baby, a quintuple. Just one fucking swing. No, we were talking about the Wii U before we were actually getting into this. And I'm just like,
Be right back for a second.
Oh, okay. You know, I kind of want to, like, just plug it back in again. Not to play Wii U games, because all of those games are on Switch now. But, more so to play, the multiplayer for Sonic and the Secret Rings. Because, listen, I don't like Sonic and the Secret Rings. I think it's pretty stinky. But, the multiplayer in it is very unique, because it's, like, the only other time that Sega's ever tried to do, like, a Sonic Shuffle type of experience in Sonic. And I just think it's kind of neat. I would love to see if it's actually any good. I mean, the main game of Sonic and the Secret Rings is already not too hot, so maybe it's better. Alright, time to go back to school, chat. Let's see how much it takes to get my degree in Seganomics.
Can I help you?
Take an exam.
Would you like to take?
Sega proficiency. 30,000 yen! Dude! How's anyone supposed to get anything in this?
Come back when you're ready.
Sounds to me like
And if you're
not exactly earning enough in this lifestyle yet.
If you're broke, just say that.
If you're broke, just say that. I'm trying to be nice about it. You're just like, nah, just call me what I am.
Man, if I'm broke, just say that.
I mean, you're still at the point in the game where it's early. Like, you're not going to start earning much money until a little later.
The private education system in a nutshell.
Hey, dude, I went to private education.
Bitch, if you're broke, just say that.
Like, oh my god, 23! Ah! That's not 23!
We're out of here.
Not paying attention?
Yeah!
Get the hell out of there! Holy shit!
Okay, that is not where we need to be right now.
I'm the one who noticed that. You just went in. You just started throwing hands.
Yeah, you know what? That right there's the hero lifestyle. You don't think, you just do it, okay?
Like one punch and it was like, oh, wait a second, time to go. It feels like a bully moment right there where you just punch the person and then run the fuck away.
Yeah. Like Rockstar's bully. I love that. I can make it. Jaywalking is for the car companies only. They made they made it to keep us under their thumb. No, my roommate, his wife, and I are planning on playing the Sonic and the Secret Rings multiplayer. I'm not gonna play the main game again because I do not like playing the main game. I think it is very stinky. But I think that the multiplayer is kind of fascinating because again, it's the only other time that they tried to do a Mario Party style thing with Sonic. Besides Sonic Shuffle. And I just think it's very neat that way. In your balls!
I'm not backing down.
Let's go. You're weak.
Stern Stranger. Let's see here. I don't think I need to do heavy beatdown on you.
Let's go.
Watch, I'm gonna need to do it anyways. Oh, hey, no, never mind. We got him.
Get serious.
Whoa! Hello! That was some insane damage. How about this? Well, she has 2 hits on the ground. I was literally about to get floored by the Kung Fu Master again.
You were! Like, they were level 23. They were 9 levels above your
Dude!
ass.
I have right of way! I have right of way! No! I have right of way! Do you not see the green there?
Oh my god!
I have the right of way!
They do not care!
They don't
do
give a
not
shit!
care.
I need to care, but they don't. Double standards much?
I
Man!
know, right?
Wow! Wow!
Oh my god. We're already off to a good start.
God damn it, dude!
We're already off to a great start with this.
Can't have shit here. See, like, look at this. I'm fine now. No
Can't have shit
issues.
in Yokohama.
Can't have shit. Can't have shit in Yokohama, yeah. What the poser?
Oh my god, it's like the Majima like dancer stand. You know, the breaker.
It does. It literally looks like the same animations. Too.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past. There's probably still people holding on to that lifestyle. Buddy, it's 2019. Let go.
Let go, yeah.
Just let go.
Right.
That shit died in the that shit died in the 80s.
Fuck you.
Okay.
You're gonna get stuck.
Remember, you haven't even switched her weapon yet. Gotten her a better one.
Yeah, I think I need to go and do that, don't I? I need to go and do that here soon. Ow!
Boulder
Hey!
didn't even get a chance to fight.
Yeah.
All these
We're
cars
just holding
just
up.
watching this happen.
Yeah, we're just holding up traffic.
Just seems. Oh, look at that new skill.
Beautician's Finesse. What does that do? Traffic here is freaking bullshit, dude. Fixes her makeup, raising her defense, and renewing her image. Okay. That's... So she's more about stat buffs and debuffs, then.
Yeah.
Probably what... It's probably best to use her in that fashion, then. Anyway, sub-stories. I want to do some more of those. We're gonna be spending most of the stream doing that. What?
Are those prescription glasses?
They are. It's been a while since I've had the prescription renewed, though.
I've got great eyesight, so I've never needed glasses. Gotta
Careful,
say,
you're running into
I'm
enemies.
a little jealous.
You
I'm
get
jealous of
interrupted.
people who can actually see. Kind of a first world problem you've got there, yeah?
Why don't you get a pair just to wear? They might suit you, Sachan.
I could give you my old frames. They're just like these, though.
No thanks. I want something cuter. Something with half rings, maybe. A pair of Wellingtons would be nice, too.
Yeah, first world problems.
Hey, cool. We got them up. This game is some of my favorite sub-stories in the series. What the...
Oh yeah, so you're at the edge of the.
I'm at the edge of the map. Listen, I already know that traffic laws do not apply here. It's a lawless wasteland here in Yokohama.
Yeah, that's a highway leading out.
This is a fucking classless wasteland here in Yokohama.
Wait,
We need to be
there's a
careful.
singular enemy there. Who is this guy?
Who is he? I feel like he's gonna be Big Man. Yep, Big Man Jones here.
He was skinny as hell and he just transformed into the Big Show.
Oh, come on. The Big Show's more fit than this. Nowadays.
Nowadays.
May lower their attack. Hold on. Alright, Namba. You go do your thing, bud. Cheer for her friends using all of her cuteness. Oh, he just did his...
You put auto on.
Oh! That's no good.
Yeah, you put auto on again.
Alright, Bat Buster. Pretty sure I got you. He's hungry. He's hungry.
2,100 yen, damn.
Man, now
money from that.
I'm starting to make money and go back to school, chat. Wait, can I not go over here? No, I can't. There's too
I'm
many
guessing
people.
the story's that way, so they're probably having you go a specific way to enter there.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Chinatown is.
Mm-hmm. Listen, we're continuing to smartfully spend money. He hungers for more. You know what? I don't think we need it just yet. If we're ever gonna...
It's glass. It's glass, you fucking idiot. That's glass too. Dude.
Dude.
Oh my god.
I was playing that up a little bit.
I can tell.
I was playing it up. I swear I have a better sense of direction than that.
I got way more aggressive than I probably should have.
Alright, we're gonna face more jugglers, I think. Oh no, never mind.
Oh god, otakus.
Come on. Nice. Wait, Pyro Belch. I want to try to get like a group of them, but it's a little hard to do that right now. Did he just dab with his sticks?
I didn't get to see it.
He just burned him alive.
He'll be fine.
Also live from like flames, but when I live from friggin' being smacked by a car, it's suddenly too hard to believe.
Oh.
I get it. Okay, dude.
Boosted all his stats with an energy drink. Let's go. Hey, remember everyone, you want to boost your stats in real life? Drink a monster. Okay, no, don't do that.
Actually, never ever drink a monster. It's just, just don't. Have you actually seen what Monster looks like? That thing looks like literal poison.
Like Logan, I've told people this many times. I already have high blood pressure, which, yes, I'm on medication for now. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank God. But it's why I don't drink energy drinks, because I'm like, if I already have a high blood pressure, drinking an energy drink would probably send me into a fucking heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to live to see 40, thank you very much.
In my case, it's just like, have you ever seen what a monster looks like?
Yes.
If you... I'm very, very surprised that people are just like, yeah, I'll keep drinking that the moment that they see it.
Okay. I mean, you know Ryan, he basically lives off that stuff.
It literally looks like rat poison.
It's almost time for a 90 seconds Cheetos break, my dudes.
Man, well, speaking of hungering...
This is about a quick then.
Jeff Bezos hungers for my money. Or, you know, he hungers for my ad revenue. How did that not hit all of them?
Because that's a singular target one.
Let's go.
Yeah, like that one, Logan's a single target. It doesn't hit multiple.
We gotta finish this up quick, yeah.
The other one that you did where you killed all 5 of them is the multi-target one.
Yeah.
Kill him quick. Alright, cool, we did it. Ad time. Let's do it.
The bikes.
Yeah? Yeah, fuck them bikes. Anyways,
It's break time. Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
all rolls on after this.
Man, you have no love or respect for the bike.
Fuck them bikes.
Oh my god.
The first Super Nintendo
Oh
game
god,
from
Toy
Disney
Story.
Interactive is Toy Story.
This is 7 minutes,
In this
chat.
game, the first thing you notice is the poor edging on Woody, the main character of the movie and the character you control in the game.
But then again,
The
there's
Toy Story
me who
movie
says
was
fuck
done
them
with
kids like the
Silicon
Michael
Graphics
Jordan
computers,
thing.
and the instruction booklet says the game's graphics were created with the same 3D computer models that were used in the making of the blockbuster movie. We don't know, however, if the game actually used Silicon Graphics computers. If SGI computers were involved, we suspect they were only used for character animation, because the backgrounds do not have the details.
Well, Chad, I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
Donkey Kong Country. As any good devoted game player knows, Donkey Kong Country was created with
Silicon Graphics computers.
and doesn't have edging problems. What's even more strange is that Woody is the only character with edging problems. All the other characters look great. The game's packaging box advertises an intensely 3D experience, but that statement is a bit misleading because the gameplay, although varied, is often two-dimensional. One question still remains. Why didn't Disney Interactive use Silicon Graphics computers for the entire game? Were they too expensive? I don't think so. Come on, Big Disney is one of the richest corporations in the country. Let's get real here. The only explanation we can think of is that Disney Interactive did not use SGI computers because the graphics could not be handled by the Genesis for the Genesis version. Maybe that's why the game has nowhere near as many colors and detailed graphics as Donkey Kong.
Om nom nom.
However,
Oh, excuse
even
me,
that
we're back,
explanation
my
doesn't seem
dudes.
plausible because
Welcome
Disney
back
would
to
have
Raw,
to be
everyone.
insane to pass up the chance of creating another Donkey Kong Country. Besides, the Genesis version and the Super NES version don't have to be exactly the same, so what's the big deal? Disney certainly has the money to make another Donkey Kong Country, but unfortunately, they blew it. Another thing that confuses us is Disney's marketing strategy. Since Pocahontas appeared in the theaters before Toy Story, why did the Toy Story video game come out before the Pocahontas game? Perhaps the Pocahontas game is being saved until the movie is released on video for some sort of joint marketing strategy. The last negative thing we have to say about this game is about the play control. In the third
Never
level,
played the
players
first
will
Toy
start
Story
throwing
game,
at the
but I
mouth
have
when they
played
can't
Toy
jump
Story
up to the
2,
rope at the
which-
top of the screen. No matter
I think
how
so many
fancy
people
you
can
get
agree
trying to
with
bounce
the
off
idea
bar and up
that-
to the rope, you will most likely not reach the darn thing. This kind of play control flaw is inexcusable, since Disney should have noticed it and fixed it. Realistically, you could end up trying 20 times to get Woody to grasp that stupid rope before you actually get it. You might get so mad at Toy Story that you may want to slam Doom into your Super NES and
Yeah,
take
like,
out
I don't
your
know how
anger
many
by
people
shooting
have
a bunch
played,
of
like,
evil
the Toy
aliens.
Story
Then
2
again,
game,
Doom
like,
is an extremely difficult
man,
game,
is that
so it
one,
might
like,
just
so
make the
much
problem
fun.
worse.
I returned with chicken salad sandwich.
Well, we admit
Hey,
we
welcome back.
have.
I was just saying, like, I've
It's a
never played the
shame,
first
though,
Toy
that
Story
the
game, but I played
outstanding
Toy Story
gameplay
2, and
quality resulting
man,
from
that
the
feels like one of
developers'
those games
hard
where it's
work
like,
is masked by the
it's
impossibly
good.
high challenge level. Toy Story is too difficult.
It is, yeah.
Like The Lion King.
And Toy Story 3 is
Though,
also
we
good.
discovered two awesome
That's
ways
what I'm
to
saying,
cheat
like,
in
the
Toy
Toy Story
Story.
2 game, like,
In
it's
the
one of
first
those where
level,
it's like,
bounce off the
it's
first beach ball you
good?
see and land on the bottom
Like,
door
question
of
mark?
the dresser on the right. Duck down until the sheriff's star icon starts
It's kinda like,
spinning
hey,
in
you
the
like
upper
Mario
left corner of the
64?
screen. Next, get
Oh,
on
yeah,
top
but
of the
that
dresser
was the
where
thing,
you'll
like,
find
we
a
were at
bucket
that
of
point
toy
where
soldiers.
movie
Stand on
based
top of
games
the
weren't that
bucket,
great.
then press down
Oh,
while
yeah.
waiting for the lid to move 10 times.
That's
At
why
this
I'm
point,
saying,
the
like,
stage
you know, I'm
select
saying,
is
like, a question
activated.
mark, like, it's
To skip
good?
any stage at any time,
Mm-hmm.
just press start followed by select.
Oh, I gotta come back
You
up.
can't win Toy Story without cheating, and this cheating brings victory much too quickly
You
towards
can't win
spending your money.
You
People don't
can't
spend
win
60
Toy Story
bucks on a
without
game
cheating.
They know they can beat. With that in mind, one wonders
Yes,
why
don't you know
companies
cheats
release
are
game codes and
mandatory in
stage
video
selects.
games to win
Video
at
game
times.
buying has become too much of a game. No pun intended. The game is about finding a game that's not too hard, but not
I don't
by
know,
any
man.
means
That
easy.
just sounds like a
Codes
skill
and other
issue.
cheats make games easy and not
Yeah,
worth
it's
buying.
certified Krill.
Unfortunately, there's no way to tell if a game will last, or if a code will be released that makes it yesterday's
Also, I'll say
news.
this, man.
There
One
is,
thing about you
however,
not checking
one
out the
last
current
bastion.
beta of the Wilds.
Role-playing games like Chrono
Yeah,
Trigger
like,
and
they
Final
just
Fantasy
added
III.
the flagship
These games
monster
will
as a
never
fight
fail you as far as challenge goes, but the potential for these games to
And
become
oh,
interactive
brother,
movies has yet to be
it's
realized.
hard.
With the Nintendo Ultra
It makes
64,
sense, 'cause you're
however,
fighting
that will
what is
surely
essentially
change.
the
Some
flagship
of you
of
may
the
have seen
game
screenshots of Toy
with
Story and
scrub
thought the
gear.
graphics were
Mm.
poor. Indeed, screenshots do not represent
And you only
the
get
game
20
well.
minutes.
Seeing the game in motion may actually impress you. Although Toy Story's graphics aren't perfect, they
Which
are
that just
pleasant
has me
looking,
like,
and the
oh, that's
gameplay
giving me
is
some
refreshing. In the
Velkhana
first level, for
Iceborne
example,
beta
you have to let the
flashbacks.
toy troops out of their bucket. Stand next to the bucket and
You gotta
press
do it
A,
quick, man.
Then listen.
I know, it's just that those fights were so hard. I never beat
A
Velkhana.
perfect soundbite from the movie. Too bad
Because
it's
I
one
just
of the few
couldn't.
in the entire game.
I kept timing
Your
out.
chore doesn't end there, though. Once you've dispersed the troops, go knock
Like,
the
I kept timing out no
walkie-talkie
matter
off
how hard
the
I
shelf by standing
tried.
next to it, kneeling and pressing
Same thing's
A.
happening with the
walkie-talkie
Arc
will
Veil. I've
fall
tried
onto
multiple
the floor,
times,
so the troops
and
can carry
I
it
just time
downstairs
out.
and set up their recon post.
You gotta be
Next,
so perfect.
head right to the walkie-talkie that Woody will use to
Sure.
communicate with the troops. In the second level, the goal is to get all the toys back where they
So I'm
were
looking
before
forward to
Andy
this
gets
game.
upstairs
Like,
and
I
finds
literally
them
said
out of
this.
place.
I'm taking
Knock
a
the
week
blocks out of
off
the pig's way so
to
he
play
can
it.
get down to the floor. Get on the pump and
All
get
right.
ready to jump on it when the pig
Now I'm
walks
ready for
by so
action.
you
Now
can
that I have
boost him into the toy
chicken
chest.
salad sandwich in me.
Repeat this process with the little toy
Yeah, but we're
robot,
still
then do
watching
the
Get
same
See,
for
so-
Rex.
Oh my god.
But lovable
Dude,
green
dude, in the
dinosaur.
time that
At least he isn't barmy.
in the time it took for
Next,
George to
knock
waffle
blocks away with your
on, I
pistol
made
by
and
pressing
ate a chicken
3D
salad
action figure
sandwich.
toy named Biff. Speaking of action figures, take a look at this one. It's a takeoff of Blanca from Street Fighter 2.
Bro is so
Also notice the
ADHD
similarities to other
coded.
Street Fighter
Wow.
characters on the package design. Aha! We
This
caught
feels
these
like
guys
something I
ripping
could
off
buy
Capcom.
at like a
Anyway,
mom and pop
let's
shop
get
in
back
New
to Toy
York.
Story.
You probably
Once
could.
Biff is free,
It'd be
you'll
like
push the bucket
vintage in
over
the
to
box.
crane. The crane will then raise the
It's in
bucket
the
so the remote
box.
control race car can
It'd
pass
be
underneath.
vintage in the
Biff and
box.
the car will get back to their place under the bed. So all that's left for you is to get in your place, which is on the bed. Do that and the level will end. Next, you must battle a nightmare version of Buzz Lightyear.
Add grapes in it,
What is
chat.
this, a
Shield with your pull
walkthrough?
string while avoiding
Yeah,
Buzz's lasers.
yeah, he's
Buzz will
basically
warn
like
you
just
before
giving
he
you a
shoots
walkthrough of the game
so
at
be
this
sure to
point.
listen carefully for his
That's why I'm like,
egotistical
what is this, a
taunting.
walkthrough?
As for the
Holy
rest of the
shit.
game, we have a few general hints for you.
This is the longest
First
Get
of
See
all,
episode.
Hello,
I've ever
Mario.
seen.
to stay alive.
Vintage
So even though
Jack
the
in the
task is
box.
boring, do it anyway.
Hey, Dark Raven,
Second,
how are you?
read the messages put up by
Little
the
guy.
etch-a-sketch before each level. It tells you what to do. Third, don't try to rush
Seriously?
through the third level to beat Buzz Lightyear. You'll never win. After all, he is a space ranger, or at least he thinks he is. Lastly, we recommend seeing the movie first so you don't have to read all the boring text in between the stages. Bottom line, when all is said and done, Toy Story has better gameplay than either of the Donkey Kong Country games, and players should even be able to adjust to the flawed play control. Toy Story's great
Bro,
gameplay is
saying that
shrouded,
Toy
however,
Story's
by
gameplay
frustrating
is better than
challenging play
Donkey Kong
control, and
Country
the
is a
cheating methods
hot-ass
destroy
take.
what's left of the game after that.
Hello, Mario.
That's hot off the presses.
Now, check out our review of Toy Story, the movie.
Especially when he spent most of this just shitting on the game.
Yeah.
This is, dude, it's so ADHD coded. It's not even funny. Also, hey, Dan, welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting. We're finally back to Yakuza. Yeah, you would think we're playing something here tonight. Ah. No, my chicken salad sandwich had pecans and grapes in it. It was very, very delicious. And now I'm ready to take on the world and maybe beat up more posers and punklings.
Oh my god.
Now watch. I'm gonna wait here. I'm going to do my best to obey the traffic laws. See that right there? I can't move just yet. I'm gonna wait. So that way I can finally beat the doesn't know how to cross the street
car's
allegations. Yeah, but like, look. See?
Fight in the middle of the fucking. Fight in the middle of the fucking street.
Listen, it's great. Let's see here. Attack an ally, rather. Enhance an ally.
Fuck the police.
Based. Alright, here we go. Mega Swing. I can knock them all down, I think. I'm not gonna be able to knock him down. I got most of them, though.
You're in it now.
Okay. Get him! Quick! Okay, that's fine.
I mean, it worked.
Sure did. Alright, what happens if I try to beat you down? Are you gonna, like, go down at first? Wait, hold on. You only think about being down Adachi. Dude! Dude, that's 4 hits. Come on now. Back to your computer.
Look at me go.
Hell yeah.
Oh, you
Also,
got a new skill.
Yeah, we got a new skill. Hold on just a second. Freaking top.
Father, why aren't there more giraffes working in law enforcement?
Oh.
Because we know that being
deal
on the
damage
force would corrupt us. We're better than that.
I mean, dude, go into that fight over there. Like, it says it deals damage to a single foe while attacking any other enemies nearby.
You see that again.
A spinning throw that wrecks a single enemy and deals collateral damage to any other enemies in the way.
Okay, so that's like an area attack. Alright. I'm kind of understanding the dynamics a little bit here. Right.
Dude. Dude.
This is fun. Cool.
Jesus Christ, man.
This is the greatest game of all time.
Fucking being a regular menace.
I hate signs, but not as much as I hate bicycles. Fuck them bicycles. Alright, cool. Let's talk to
It's hot, so be
this
careful.
person.
Oh, a soup kitchen for the homeless. Real thankful for stuff like this.
What?
Hey, you! This place is for people in need.
Well, you think I just... You think just because I have a
I'm
suit?
not here for a bite to eat.
Don't play dumb with me. I saw you eyeing the soup.
A love worth fighting for.
Hold up. I told you, you got the wrong idea, alright?
Terracotta-san, just leave it be. I know you're hungry, but there's no need to get uppity at folks. Now why don't we go get back in line?
Hello again, Rigby.
The soup kitchen's all we got.
Take, calm down.
Died in 2019, came back in 2019. Welcome back, Rigby.
Oh, look out!
What? Dude, he knocked him into the street!
Yep.
Stupid son of a bitch.
Man.
I got you this time.
Alright. Okay, but you... Listen, menacing man. You are no match for my... You're not matched for my cockbat, okay?
Yeah.
Up your ass! Well, actually, no, that's more like in your head. You're no match for my cockbat.
5,000 yen, nice.
After that,
Hey,
you're...
Thick parka. You just got an item. Thick parka.
Thick parka. $5,000 from this guy? Man, you're coming up here being like, you shouldn't be looking at the suit. Meanwhile, you got 5,000 yen on you. You can buy a lot of scones for that money.
Hell yeah.
You can buy at least
Power
5
snooze?
scones. Power snooze. I love that. He should have used ham boning to defend himself. I understood that reference.
Yo.
Hey, you okay?
Literally that. I just sent you a GIF.
Where am I? Appreciate the help back there, but don't overdo it, alright? Oh! What about,
Hello, Mario.
Terracotta-san? Came in with the raid. I shall resume lurking and supporting. What now?
Soulstone VT said, came in with a raid. I shall resume lurking and supporting.
Did someone raid?
I didn't even see a raid come in.
Did someone raid? If that happened, I didn't see it. Well,
Yeah, I'm not get-
well, thank you for lurking anyways. I appreciate it. I appreciate Soulstone. Thank you very much. Hopefully you're having a good night
Weird.
tonight. He was
Yeah,
still...
I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything like that. That's fine, though. Sort of had to step in and calm him down. Figures he'd act like that. Terracotta-san isn't a bad person. It's just... recently, more and more non-homeless folk have been trying to swoop into the soup kitchen.
Oh, what the fuck?
What? I think
So,
he was...
like, non-homeless people trying to, like, get from the soup? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's not for you, man. I think he was irritated because there wasn't enough going out to the people who actually needed it. I'd like to apologize on his behalf. Sorry to have caused you trouble. I had no idea it was that bad. At least I know now. Hey, by the way, weren't you in line to get some soup? Oh, right. I should hurry and get some. Uh-oh. Man, I almost missed out. Just thinking this could have been my last bowl makes it taste so much better. Looks like it's over. Not much I could do about it. Still, I wish I could have at least got something for him at Terracotta.
Yeah.
Oops. Excuse me. Here, you can eat this if you like. Salmon donuts. Huh? I saw the fight, but I was too scared to step in and help. It might not make up for it, but I'd like you to have this onigiri. That's a fun way to say donuts. That's good, right? Yeah? What's wrong? Oh, yes. Thank you. You're welcome. My name's Shirakawa. I'll be doing another soup kitchen out here soon, so I'll see you two then. Okay. Well, I'm actually not homeless. See you later. She doesn't even care. At least you scored some food. I guess I didn't ask your name. Oh.
Yo.
Hey, you listening? Oh, sorry. My name, right? I'm Kuroi. Kuroi, I'm Kazuga. You've been zoning out ever since she came over. What's up? You fall for her, buddy? Just teasing. What? How did you know? Oh, you really did. I was joking, man, but you're really head over heels for her? I've never been treated so kindly by a woman before. I guess she just kind of stole my heart. So, tell me, Kazuga-san, are you any good with the ladies? Dude, Ichiban's getting, like, courted for, like, advice on women and wives throughout these side stories. This is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, the only woman he's really come into contact with in probably, like, 5 years at this point is Saiko.
Well, longer, but yeah.
What's
He's
that?
been in jail for
18
years.
For, like, the first one he's come across in 20 years is Saiko. I don't have any experience with these things. What's worse, I don't have a job or a house either. Still, I don't want to treat these feelings like they never existed. Not for my first love. So I'm begging you, can you step in and play matchmaker for us? I've got to at least try. Me? I ain't exactly Cupid myself, man, but... Alright, I got you. I don't know how much help I'll be, but... why not? Really? Thank you so much. But first, you might want to take care of your friend here.
He's still laid out.
Man, we cleaned his clock, dude. Oh, right. Okay, then. Next time we meet, I'll ask you again. Okay, Terracotta-san. Up we go. Being the matchmaker is gonna be pretty tough. Still, I guess it couldn't hurt to stick around and help the guy out. Cool. I guess we'll see him later, then. We got more side quests that we need to find. Like that one over there. And that one over there. Man, there's a lot.
Breaking rocks in the hot sun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I needed money cause I had none. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Such pipes on the homunculus. Listen. Listen again, the reason why giraffes are not on the force is because we know better.
Here we go.
We're more about vigilante
Slasher.
justice. Slasher.
That was the slowest walk.
I know, it's like a dainty little walk. Those... Dude, we're so overpowered. We don't need this anymore.
Yeah, you're. Oh, that side quest showed back up. Look.
Wait, already? Okay.
We might as well get the next one started over there.
Well, like, I mean, that one over there is ready. I'm gonna go to it.
Alright.
That one over there is ready. I'm gonna go to it.
Time to play matchmaker.
And I'm not... Dude, she's set back up in like 5 minutes. That's crazy. That was a good son.
Soup.
You came. Yeah. There's your boy Terracotta. Apparently he's learned his lesson. He's been laying low as of late. That's good to hear. Long voice cinematic universe win. You know what? At 10,000 Twitch subs, I will initiate the Long Boy Cinematic Universe. I got the screenplays and everything. Sure, but
Good.
this whole time I've been thinking about what I should say, but I can't think of anything. I think it'd be easier to talk to her if I knew what she liked. Why not go up and ask her? But what if she thinks I have an ulterior motive and never speaks to me again? Dude, don't overthink it. Do you think you could ask Shirakawa-san what she likes for me? I haven't even been able to touch my soup, I'm so stressed out about it. Man, you serious right now? Fine. But just to get this thing started. Thank you.
Full ass mood right now.
Be right back. Let's see if I can find something those two could talk about. I mean, I like how you two can both pop in and out of existence. That's a good conversation starter. He asked me to find out what Shirakawa likes. I guess I'll act like I'm getting some food and see what I can learn. Yo, mind if I get some food? Oh, you're the guy from last time. Did you like the salmon donuts? Oh yeah, it was great. Thanks. Really? I'm glad. I love cooking, but I'm pretty clumsy, so I'm never too sure about the taste. It's a relief to know you liked it. Okay, so she likes cooking. Maybe I should ask what else she likes. Zack Snyder was in charge of the Long Boys Cinematic Universe. I would want it dismantled from the ground up.
Sup?
Damn.
Do you like anything other than cooking? You want to know what I like? Yeah. Tell you the truth, I was thinking about getting a gift for a girl your age, and I wasn't too sure what to get her. I thought maybe you'd have some kind of idea. Oh, I see. A gift? Well, I'm not sure if it'll help, but I love flowers. Flowers, huh? Yes. I'm even attending a gardening program at my college because of that. That's cool. I guess a lot of girls love flowers. Thanks for the hint. Bro didn't even get soup. I hope she likes the gift. Wait, don't you want any food? Cool. Alright, she likes flowers. I should tell him. Yo,
You're
I found out
even
what she
hidden.
likes. Well, yeah, yeah, he's just standing right there. Thank you. So what does she say? She loves flowers. Loves them so much, she's going to college for gardening. Wait, really? Yeah. Wait, what's the big surprise? Oh, actually, at one point in time, I worked at a flower shop. No way. That's perfect, then. It should be hard to talk to her if you lead in with that. Right. I must say, I'm starting to feel pretty confident. I think I'll go over and say hello. Go do it, bud. Go do it.
Hello,
Go get
Mario.
the bread. Hello, Devin. How you doing? Welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting. What? Bro. Oh, wait. We don't even hear... we don't even see, like, the mouse move for most of it. I love it. Okay, okay. Looks like he's in business. Alright, cool. Looks like I made a pretty good Cupid. I don't think that's gonna last, but we'll see. Shogi...
I mean, I guess that's some story at the bridge.
Yeah, I guess we'll go see what... I guess we'll go see what's going on over here.
Oh, it's back already.
What? Wait, the sub-story's back already?
Yeah, it came back already.
Dude.
Oh, that's...
Dude, what's he doing all the way over there? Battle bum.
I guess it has to reset or something. I don't know. Hammerhead.
We're so above them, dude.
I guess back we go.
No. No, I turned around one time. Not doing it again. I'm committed. I'm committed now. I'm committed to the... What the... What happened? I thought someone fell over for a second.
You have to look.
What's this? Yep, the bridge still has urine in it.
Wait, what's this?
What's that thing?
Oh, wait a minute!
No.
Oh, it's a crawfish.
Oh, hey, it's the crawfish. I can barely see it because of the nighttime.
Getting squished by a car now.
Bruh.
I mean, he's nearby where the cans get collected. Yeah, get him out of there.
Little buddy.
My sweet Nancy.
Dude, he just tossed him like a baseball. My dude, that crawfish is dead now. You were too violent with it.
No, he's fine.
He's fine.
It's fine.
Really now?
Yes, it's fine.
Oh, my...
You just toss him like a baseball.
I don't see her anywhere at all.
Or her. You just tossed her like a baseball.
That crawfish just now was yours?
Yep. Raised her with my own 2 hands, I did.
You just tossed her into the piss water, dude.
Normally, we stroll around the neighborhood together and get us some exercise. That sweet little gal was my only beacon of hope in this dark, cruel world.
Mita Henry. Speaking of, here he is right now. He's right here. He's right here by my side, snoozing in front of the heater.
I understand. You did it with good intentions. Besides,
Hi,
it's
Henry.
my fault for taking my eyes off her. Well, I don't see her anywhere. Unfortunately,
See your mouse in front of the screen.
She's probably gone for good. But don't dwell too much on it. I'm just another nobody.
Now, dude, we gotta get into the piss water and get your crawfish back. That crawfish must have meant the world to him. He even gave it a name.
I'll go find Nancy and bring her back. He'll eat me up inside if I don't.
He's so tender-hearted.
Certainly generous of you. But can you really find her?
Just find another crawfish, name her Nancy.
Gee, thanks. I'll leave you to it then. Oh, and I'm Ebihara. I call these streets my home. If you do get hold of Nancy, could you come find me along Sakura River Street? That's my usual spot.
I'll be full of hepatitis.
And I'm Kasuga.
Amongst other diseases.
One thing I should tell you is Nancy has an X-shaped scar on her back.
Dude, I'd probably jump in there and get bubonic plague.
On her back. Yeah, thanks.
It's full of bone-hurting juice.
Hopefully she hasn't gone far. If I'm lucky, I'll find her downstream.
The crawfish caper.
Caper.
All right, well, we gotta find the crawfish because I want to know. I want to know why the crawfish appears on the game art because it literally appears. Like, see right there, it's on the game art, right there. I want to know why. I want to know why she's there.
Oh, time to go save the crawfish.
Dude, if Nancy
It's almost
is
time for a 90 seconds Cheetos break, my dudes.
Nope. No, it's not. Dude, if Nancy is like a pound mate, I'm gonna throw my PS5 out the window. It'll be too much. Salmonella.
There's also cholera, salmonella, and most horrifically...
Dysentery. Dysentery?
Dysentery.
What?
All the humanity.
I love the Yokohama Trail.
Oh, the stairs.
Oh. There's crawfish all over the place. Really? I can't see them.
I see them.
There's one.
Remember what he said.
Maybe Evihara's pet Nancy's one of them. Let's take a look. Yeah, we gotta look for the one with the scar on the back. Select active search mode will place you in first-person view. You'll be able to move the left stick and look around using the right stick. Put on those detective specs and find Nancy-chan. X-shaped scar. That's what we're looking for. Examine. Nope.
No.
Put her back in and find one.
Another one right there in front of you.
It's so... Wait, there's one here.
Yeah, there's one right there.
That's it.
Oh.
Is this?
Now that's a Nancy if I've ever seen one. Could this be little Nancy? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so ought to be Nancy. Evihara said he be on the South Sakura River Street. We'll go meet him. Hi! Hello, Nanba.
And now all the crawfish are gone.
Hey, we put him back. We put him back where we found them. Kind of. But they're,
So now where?
well, now they're in the piss water with the
No,
bucket.
I mean, now where to go? Obviously, I don't know this map. Oh, right there. They're
Probably
right
there.
next to each other.
Well, I guess we'll run some errands then. Have you finished with those errands? Have you finished those errands? Dysentery is a dysentery is a hell of a pull, not gonna lie. I'm more curious about the crawfish, I'm not gonna lie. I'm more curious about the crawfish than finding yet another man a wife.
Crawfish be like, fuck this, I'm not becoming crawfish boil. Fun fact, when I was getting into fishing 2 years ago, I went to a lake by myself, and when I was trying to cast out, at one point, as I was bringing my line back in, a one-clawed crawfish actually snapped onto my line.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like, what are you doing?
He wants to come with you. Fuck this, I'm not becoming crawfish boil. Well,
I
listen.
really put the crawfish back in the water, like, off, come on.
Silver spider.
Be so pretty. It's like it's painted silver. You got a real nice shine there, bud. Promise I'll take good care of you.
Dude, he's so tender-hearted that he'll find a spider off a tree and then call it his pet.
I mean, it's a silver spider. You tell me, like, you find something like that and you wouldn't be like, alright, you're coming home with me.
I will name you Nugget.
Name you Nugget.
Tight beat.
Did you find Nancy yet?
I'll call you
this
Silver.
Is Nancy, right?
Oh, Nancy! Oh, thank goodness you're safe and sound. I'm amazed you actually found her.
That crawfish is so detailed.
Nah, wasn't a big deal. Besides,
That's where all the budget went.
Thanks for being cool. Anyway, I gotta bounce. You and Nancy, take care.
Oh, can't you stay a while? I was just about to start cooking.
Cooking?
I'm more than happy to treat you as thanks for
What?
finding a girl.
No.
I don't know.
Oh, don't be modest. I've been planning a feast for some time now, so I say the more the merrier.
I guess I could stay and
They're
have a
very
bite.
small. Like, crawfish are not very big. And even if they pinch you, it's not really going to hurt that.
I don't want to... Do not feed me Nancy.
But before we get to the main course, why don't you try this little appetizer I whipped up?
Oh wait, no, my fears are back.
Looks kind of like boiled spinach.
It's almost time for a 90 seconds Cheetos break, my dudes.
I'm sorry, but we need to play the ad this time, chat. There is no getting around Bezos' wrath. We need to do
It's
it.
break time. Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raw rolls on after this.
But no, yeah, the same day that that crawfish got on my line, it was the same day I caught one of my very first largemouth
And now we're going
bass.
to power up the Virtual Boy. Virtual Boy has three
Oh,
major
boy.
components: the
Oh,
stand,
boy,
the
Virtual
head unit,
Boy.
and the controller. The stand
Yeah, like
is
Logan,
packed
that was back in
flat.
2020.
So you want to take the stand,
like right near the end
spread
of the
it
summer.
open, and then set it firmly on the table with the feet
God.
facing forward for support.
I've been almost
The head
fishing for 2
unit
years
has
now.
got to be connected with a controller.
So you're like a
insert the
pro-
controller into the
a
spot
pro
on the head
angler
unit,
now, right?
And you're ready to go.
I wouldn't say
Now,
that.
take your head unit, place it into the support bracket.
Because right now I've only
you want
caught
to be
like
very
what,
careful
6 species
and do
of
it
fish?
gently from the back.
6
So you
species.
tilt it in first.
Yeah,
then
rainbow
push it
trout.
down. There's a
Hello,
large
Mario.
in the back here that you can push down to
Channel
open up the
catfish,
support bracket so
northern
it doesn't
pike,
go in tightly.
bluegill,
Release the
and green
spring,
sunfish.
and then gently
Oh,
tighten it
okay.
up with a tension control knob here on the side. Once you feel tension,
I want to try to
just turn
catch
it
more species
slightly
because I've tried
upwards
catching
until
yellow
it
perch,
catches.
I've
You
tried
don't need a lot of
catching
tension here.
smallmouth
It
bass.
just needs to support itself.
Not to
The next
mention when
thing
we
you wanna
traveled
do is
to
load in your
California for
batteries. Your
BabsCon,
batteries are
I
in
do
the
want to try
controller,
fishing
the
at
front panel. Press
in
the
San
panel
Fran.
down,
Sure.
gently push it up, and
But that'll be
your
saltwater
batteries will
species.
load into the slot
So
here, 3 up and 3
It'll all
down.
be new species for me to catch.
Push it down, click it in place,
You'll be able to put them in your
and
fish
then
feed
you're
you.
ready to go. The
Pretty
final
much,
thing
like,
is
I
to
do
put
have a
your
fishing
game
journal.
cartridge into
Ooh,
place.
nice.
The game cartridge
I do
goes
have a
into
fishing
the
journal that I
slot
keep track of
underneath
locations
the
that I've
Virtual
fished in
Boy.
and take
Om
pictures
nom
that
nom.
I've
You have
fished
to be
that I
Oh,
catch.
careful
excuse
when
me,
you
we're
push the
back,
game
my
cartridge
dudes.
in.
Hey,
You
welcome
wanna
back
make
to
sure
Raw. I
that
mean,
it
you technically
connects
caught a
firmly
crawfish, right?
all the way in the back, because if it
Yeah, I
doesn't
wouldn't
connect
count a
properly when you
crawfish as
turn
like
it
a
on,
fish
you won't get anything.
because
So
I mean,
you
it's an
wanna make
aquatic
sure that the game
species, yeah.
cartridge is
yeah, but
in
I'm
place
going
properly,
after fish.
so when you
Crawfish
turn it
are
on,
crustacean.
Sure.
you hear it.
I mean, you could put it down as
Virtual
just kind of
Boy
like
does
a
not
little
have a
extra
video
note,
output
you know?
port because it would only send out the signal
Well,
of
it's
one of the
crawfish
layers
cool.
of the
used
3D
as,
graphics.
live bait.
Remember, the images of Virtual
Oh.
Boy are created by your
That's
eyes,
scary.
which combine two
Yeah, you can-
separately
if
projected
you-
LED
like, you can
images
take
from
live
both
crawfish,
sides. What we're showing you here
and
is
there's
some
2 ways to
exclusive
use it
footage
as live
of some of the
bait.
upcoming
One,
Virtual Boy
keep it
games.
alive, but
We
stick a
obtained
hook
this footage
or
with
like
our
in the middle
cameras
of
at
its
E3,
body,
so please be aware that
so
the
that way it
images
can walk
captured
around
here
the bottom
do
on
not
its
in any
own,
way
and if a
recreate
fish
the
gets
actual
it,
three-dimensional
there you go.
elements of the
Also,
game's
hey, Loopy
graphics
Logic,
and
welcome to
gameplay.
tonight's Long Boy Club
So
meeting.
far, we've played
Hey,
Mario's
Loopy
Tennis,
Logic.
Galactic
The other way,
Pinball,
and
Red
nobody's
Alarm,
gonna be happy
and
to hear
Tolero
this.
Boxer. So stick around and see our
Cut it
ratings
in
on
half,
all these
and
games and
bits
more.
and pieces of it is.
Mm-hmm.
That one obviously is like, ugh, but
Pescatarians
yeah,
can eat them.
crustaceans aren't fish, but apparently pescatarians can eat them. Yes, exactly.
Pescatarians can eat them. Yeah.
That's why I say crawfish can be used as a live bait to catch larger trout, largemouth, smallmouth. There's a lot of fish that eat crawfish.
But not bad, old timer.
Glad to hear it. And you swallowed it just fine?
I just don't fish with live bait right now. One, because I'm squeamish, and two, it's too much money.
The thing is, those are weeds I found in a hole in
Maybe
the
one day I will, but not today.
Couldn't tell you what they are, though. But
What?
they're still kicking. I'd say they're just fine.
Uh-oh.
Gee, thanks. Next time, test your road weeds on someone else.
What? You're stealing these, aren't you? Besides, you're getting a free meal, so how about seconds?
Yeah, I'll pass. You're a real piece of work, you old coot.
At any rate, we're just...
What is the piece... Dude, what's the main course? Don't tell me.
Our main course today is what I call the Evie Harris...
No!
No!
What's that got to do with Nancy?
What else? I told you we were feasting, didn't I? Nancy!
No!
Main course.
No!
Hell, have you lost it? I thought you cared about Nancy.
Oh, yes, I care about her deeply. This little sea bug's a cut above the rest. She's the tastiest one I ever did see.
Oh, no.
No!
No!
A meal to you?
Hey, to us homeless folk, crawfish are a godsend. And to get her plump and fit, I took her out daily to toughen up her limbs. I worked so hard
Bro.
to sculpt her into a meal. I nearly had a heart attack when you chucked her in the river.
You should have said that before. I thought she was your pet, man. Why else would I bust my ass to find her?
You're not wrong. Then here, you get first dibs. You deserve it, Ichiban.
But
nothing like the first crunch of a fresh crustacean.
No!
Here goes.
Not Nancy!
No!
Nancy! Wait,
Yeah, wait a minute!
You get 3. You get 3 choices for wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Could you hold off on devouring Nancy?
Devouring?
Now's the best time to chow down.
The thing is, I kind of got attached to Nancy.
This guy may dress like a fisherman, but no.
What? Bonded with a sea bug?
Hey, you're the one who named her and took her for a walk.
Well, now we have a problem. I've been waiting for days on end to sink.
Like he made it sound like that Nancy was like a childhood pet.
Much else would give me that kind of satisfaction.
Damn.
However,
I still love how all 3 were just waiting.
Just as tasty, I might reconsider. Perhaps I could be persuaded with, I don't know, a premium sushi set?
Bro.
Oh my god.
Sorry, son. I don't have many options here. A premium sushi set would really set me right. Unless
Fuck this guy, man.
Nancy, goodbye.
Yeah, like I said, you may dress like a fisherman, but I want nothing to do with you.
Please do, and don't be long.
Alright, we gotta save Nancy, chat.
This is just making me not want to use live bait even more. This is just like, never mind, I will never use a crawfish as bait ever.
Premium sushi set. Where am I gonna get that? Over there?
You'll probably have to go to a sushi place or something to buy it. Oh, probably the convenience store.
Ah!
Probably the convenience store or something.
I was literally about to...
Isn't that a convenience store right across the street?
Yeah, that's why I marked it.
Because, yeah, like convenience stores in Japan, they actually sell actual food. It's not like the kind of, you know, like bullshit that we have.
Luxury...
It's a premium... That's bento.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find it.
Premium sushi. Oh, they don't have that here.
Man, we gotta find
There's
it
gotta be
somewhere.
another... There's gotta be another store then. I don't know, so...
We
it
can't...
looks like it's gonna be another...
We can't let Nancy die.
Okay, so I guess look for another Chicken del Sol, Welcome Pharmacy. No, I don't think the pharmacy's gonna have it.
Well, let's see if it does.
Wait, what about that store up ahead? Wait, go back to the map. There was another store in an area that you haven't explored yet. Up higher in that unexplored area.
This guy right here.
Kinka Pharmacy. Okay, no. I mean, you can see all the store names, so let's look around.
Chicken del Sol. That doesn't say Sushi del Sol, so I'm not buying it. Jinja
Popo.
Station.
Oh,
Jinja.
Popo's a convenience store. It's in a convenience store.
Bingo, then. Let's check it.
I guess. Sushi's good, but convenience store sushi? Actually, in Japan, their stuff is really good. Like, seriously. A lot of people don't underestimate how good Japan makes their stuff in convenience stores because, unlike, you know, convenience stores here in, like, say, the US that just sell you junk, a lot of the stuff in convenience stores in Japan can actually set you pretty well.
Listen, do not sleep on the taquito that's been sitting in the friggin' heater since like 3 in the afternoon, and you're getting it, and it's like 3 in the morning now. Okay? Do not sleep on that.
That's what I'm saying.
That
like,
shit is
that's
the
kinda
ultimate gut fill.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's kind of one of those things where it's like a lot of people don't realize that Japanese convenience stores actually have real food and stuff like that. Oh, you can't go this way?
Dude, you can't get anywhere in this city.
Check the map.
There's no point going this way. I'm trying to treasure hunt.
Oh, you could probably go around. Yeah, you're just kind of trying to go straight through. I'm guessing that's going to be a story-related location later.
Probably.
Yep, there we go.
You assholes don't understand that I have a friggin' fish to save.
Fish.
Great work, guys.
Why are you running? They were your level.
Because we need to save the fish. we need to hurry up and save Nancy.
Sakai Road.
Excuse me.
I just saw it. Kevin, like, sushi's good, but convenience store, like, yeah, like, I've heard so many YouTubers even talk about how convenience store places are really good. One of the gas stations in my city has pizza just as good as the major chains. When fresh, Casey's Pizza is I can believe that.
Dude, Casey's is awesome. Casey's is actually incredible for, like, a convenience store. Like, a lot of the stuff they sell is like, top-notch.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you this right now. The one thing I've heard is that 7-Eleven here in America, in comparison to Japan, it's like night and day.
Mm-hmm. But,
like, I've heard people say 7-Eleven in Japan is so good. They have a lot of great stuff.
Well, if I ever go to Japan, I need to get 7-Eleven then. Premium sushi set.
Hey, there it is. 2,000 yen. Jesus.
Okay, we got it.
Time to go save Nancy.
Where is it? There it is.
Down there, yep. All right, time to go save Nancy now.
He needs to run back.
Can you fight these people?
Aren't
they trying to make 7-Eleven in the US more like the ones in... Not really, if I'm being honest. The 7-Elevens in Japan still... Not here, sorry, the 7-Elevens here in the US still feel like so much of the food is processed and cheap. Like, I've bought pizzas from 7-Eleven, and I always get sick.
Again, don't be sleeping on those taquitos, okay? Fuck you, bikes.
I'm just saying, like, I've had, like, pizzas from, like, 7-Eleven multiple times, and I always get sick.
I got stopped by the speedometer.
Oh, my God.
I got stopped by the
they?
fucking parking meter. Tribes guard. I wonder where their chief is.
Head guardsman. Head guardian, oh, okay.
I mean, we don't really have 7-Eleven over here in my neck of the woods. Again, the closest thing we have is, like, Casey's. And that's actually, like, incredible.
Like, in terms of convenience, yeah, they're nice, but there's just one problem that's still a problem. Oh, my God.
Yeah, fuck them bikes. Get on the road!
There's just one problem, and that's the prices for a lot of stuff are bullshit.
Well, yeah, but that goes
Like,
for
dude.
everything nowadays.
Well, you say
Like,
that,
everything
but
is
here's the
bullshit
thing.
these days.
If you wanted an extra large fountain drink from 7-Eleven, it's gonna cost you almost $5. But then if you go to a different gas station like Circle K or what used to be called Come and Go here, now called Maverick, you can buy an extra large drink for $1.79.
I mean, changing their name back from Come and Go was a travesty.
Yeah, it used to be called that for years, and now they've changed it to Maverick.
Probably because it was called Come and Go.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, but like, Nelson, you need to understand. It's called Come and Go, okay?
It worked.
Yeah, it did. I guess.
It worked.
Did it? I mean, did it? I'm
Yes.
genuinely asking.
No, it did. It's just for some reason they decided to change it to Maverick. I don't know why. Maybe it was a change of ownership or something. Because all of the stores, all of the gas stations that are now just called Maverick.
Listen, if I'm pulling up to a convenience store and it's called Come and Go, I'm not gonna stop snickering. All right.
Of course you would.
But that's just me. That's just me. I ain't gonna stop snickering. So what's this? Oh, it's a pharmacy. Oh, hey, it has a giraffe based. Let's see here. I'm trying to save up for school, but I need stuff to help me live.
Aren't we supposed to be saving a crawfish?
Oh yeah, that's right. Nancy!
Or this guy decides to eat them?
Bikes. No, I will not allow Nancy to be taken alive.
Well, she's not. She's about to be eaten.
I will not allow Nancy to be taken dead. Fuck you, I do not want anything to do with you. I need to save a fish. Gotta save a fish. I gotta save an aquatic crustacean.
I wish there was a fish that you could save in Yakuza. It'd be amazing. Like, as somebody who wants, like, as somebody who loves when they had, like, fish as a weapon, like Hitman. I mean, you remember when I was playing Hitman 2 and you could just knock people out with a fucking fish.
Yeah.
There's even an achievement in one level where you throw the fish back into the water.
I love that. That's good.
Literally called Free Fishy.
Alright, here we go. Gotta save the fish now.
Hey, Kasuga-san. Where's my premium sushi set?
I do have one on me. I should hand it over for Nancy's sake.
Here.
Yes.
That's what you wanted?
Save Nancy.
Just what the doctor ordered. Can't believe you went and got this just to save a dang crawfish. Here, as promised, Nancy's all yours. Boil her, grill her, do whatever you like.
I'm not doing any of that to her.
No, do not tell me she's a pound mate.
Thanks. For both me and Nancy. Enjoy that sushi, huh?
Oh, yes, will do.
Nancy, you and I are gonna get on just fine.
What?
Amazing.
Yeah!
By the way, yes.
Yes!
Nancy Chan is a pound mate.
Hell fucking yeah. I'm using her the first chance I get. That's insane. How does a crawfish use a phone? Chat, how does a crawfish dial 911? How does she answer the phone?
Oh
Right,
my god, are you actually gonna use her?
Might.
You have auto on.
Yeah.
I'm not backing down.
Hold up, Kuyo.
Right.
Even for another battle, because you're about to beat these guys.
Cool. You wanna fight?
Well, hold on.
Who do I call?
How much does it cost? Yeah, it's 0.
First time's free. Well, first time's free, that's why.
Humans. Wait, we can't.
Let's see.
Humans only. Yeah, this only works against human enemies.
I didn't know that there were non-human enemies. I thought we were all just.
There are stuff like that later down the line. I can't really say it without going further in, so. Oh yeah, this sub-story. Back to this.
Okay. There's gotta be a battle here. Flowers can bloom in some pretty unexpected places. Back when I was working, I didn't pay much attention to the city, but you'd be surprised what you see if you look. Really? I'll have to keep an eye out.
Oh, he seems to be hitting it off.
Oh, nice. Looks like, Kuroi's doing just fine. Hey, look at that. What is it? Talk about Beauty and the Beast. Those two don't match up at all. Yeah, that guy's a wild dog, am I right? Yeah, a real mutt. Wow.
Gotta love hecklers.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast. Oh! Don't sneak up on me like that. Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently Shirakawa-san and I aren't a good fit. Hmm? The thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Well, I can't keep looking like some raggedy old hound. I don't want to embarrass Shirakawa-san.
I don't think it matters, my guy.
I don't think it matters too much, dude. What should I change first? What should you change? Shirakawa!
Holy shit, that's horrible. Nah!
You gotta find someone new, brother.
That's horrible. I mean, if I had to make a pick on any of this, yeah, clothes can definitely help in that regard.
Change your face.
I mean, you've seen me, man. I keep myself clean when it comes to my hair and facial hair, but I dress kind of bummy.
Okay, but like this guy looks like a bum from his face. Okay, you gotta change the face.
True.
How about your face? Like plastic surgery? You're right. She'd never go for this ugly mug. Nah, not like that. Like, cut your hair or put on some makeup or something. Oh, that's what you meant. I don't know if that'll be enough. It's got me there. Maybe there's something else you could change? Shirakawa! Dude, what happens if I choose this? I need to see.
Oh no.
What if Shirakawa changed instead? Huh? Shirakawa-san? I can't imagine she'd be too keen on changing so suddenly like that. Yeah, that's true. She'd probably think you were nuts. What'd she change about himself?
I was thinking clothes was it. 'Cause
I mean, like, clothes is the right answer. Why not your clothes? I'm sure she'll notice that. Do you have anything else you can wear? I'm sorry to say, but this is all I have. Alright, well, we'll just have to go buy some. How much you got on you? I got nothing. But I'll try to do something about that. For Shirakawa-san, and my new friend who's been cheering me on. Sure. I'm really rooting for you, man. Thank you. Hopefully you can help me with my outfit once I get some money. Watch, this guy's gonna make, like, 5,000 yen in 10 seconds, and I'm gonna want to know how he did it. At this rate, he's got it in the bag.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely got more confidence in comparison to when you were first.
What? Huh?
There's a sub story over there.
Sure is. Is there?
And that's a new one. You could start down there.
I mean, we may as well just keep on starting them, you know? We may as well just keep the ball rolling a little bit.
And this one's just gonna be back in like a sec. Oh no, not this time. Oh, you want to know what I think it is? That one must be.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, he went to the far side,
a different area.
He went far up north to get some new trendy clothes.
I mean, why not?
Also, I won't lie.
I tell people I dress bummy on purpose because being in New York, I don't want people to really give me much attention.
Sure.
Nowadays, I kind of care a little bit more about the way I dress, so.
I'm not laughing about that. I'm laughing about the bike.
I know the timing was.
Hey, you guys want to hear a scary story?
Oh, I want to hear this.
Sure, whatever.
I was at a laundromat a little while back, and as anyone would, I put my clothes in the dryer. When there was about 5 or so minutes left, my cell rang, and I went outside.
Dude, walk away. Enemies. It'll interrupt it.
I hung up and went back inside. The dryer was still going, and the time left? 30 minutes.
Whoa, that is freaky.
Did you extend the time or something?
Of course not. Why would I do that? Yeah, no good dryer shrank my favorite shirt because of that. The thing got all tight. Still wore it, though.
You still wore it?
Didn't think this story could get scarier, but...
Oh yeah, you definitely need to head to the bar to level up their, like, you know.
Listen. When we start the sub story, I'll head to Metal Gear Survive and we'll continue our sub stories. Yeah, we'll head to Metal Gear Survive and we'll do our friendship confidants, whatever's.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm trying to wait.
I feel that pain of shrinking your favorite shirt by accident. I just find it is like still wore it though, like. I'm like, yeah, I mean, if it's your favorite shirt, it's like, well, it's shrunk. Don't care.
I tried to wait for, like, someone that's, you know, on my level or higher to call in Nancy.
You might want to head to a different area then for that, because you're still pretty much, like, in the beginning area.
Well, I know that, but I want to start the sub-story.
Oh, hey, you're nearby that shop. Might be able to buy a new handbag for her.
Oh my god. What kind of, like, weird stuff can we buy from here for Sayako?
Wait, God, you're height.
Sexy microphone.
Yeah, she can equip those. Look down.
Technical bag.
Hello, Mario.
What is that?
Jojo, hello there.
700. Holy shit.
Well, in just a minute. Well, as luck would have it, we don't have that much. We're just short.
Wait, mail order katana?
Mail order katana?
Wait, go up. Oh, it's for a job. Adult ruler.
Adults ruler. You need, like...
So, no idea in that class yet. 100-ton hammer?
Dude, what the? Dude, sadistic whip.
And look who can equip it.
Yeah, Psycho. But she needs like a different job. What the hell is this? 100-ton hammer?
That falsely advertised.
A hammer that falsely advertises its weight with inscribed lettering. Based.
Amazing. Hey, Jojo.
I can only buy the technical bag for her.
And you don't have enough money right now.
No. Well, at least I'm making more money than I was as an Arakawa loyalist. That shit was... that was the dirt worse.
Yeah, but the life of a hero was slow going.
Yeah, but like... Now look at this. We're riding high. Kinda.
What's with him?
I mean, you got a crawfish as a pound mate.
Yeah. What, huh?
Oh, what?
He saw me looking.
Oh.
I feel like I'm getting called over.
Oh.
Help you with what?
To tell you the truth, I need to hop a train to Tokyo as soon as possible. But I don't have any clothes.
What?
Clothes?
Yeah.
What is it with men in this game not having clothes? First the man children, now this? Brother.
I told you it could get weirder.
Go to the fucking Gap already. Actually, no, don't.
He's probably naked.
Actually,
you want to
actually, no, don't go to the Gap. Just go on Amazon already. You know?
Dude, where do you think he's carrying a phone at that?
Under his armpit. I don't know.
All I've got are these bubbles.
Bubbles?
These bubbles?
What are you talking about?
Here.
Is he...
See for yourself.
Ah! Why is it red?
What the fuck?
Chat, can I show this on Twitch?
I told you it could get weirder.
Or has Sega fucked me over finally? Has Sega finally done it?
Weirder.
Man, dude. Who the hell can say that Sega doesn't have rays? They'll do Sonic and then they'll do this. Come on now.
Again, I told you it can get weirder.
Right. Well, don't catch a cold.
Brothering, dude.
Yo, back off! You're getting bubbles everywhere. How'd you even end up like that in the first place?
But dude, that's like a SpongeBob type beat.
Earlier today, I was enjoying my time at a soapland, getting nice and sudsy.
This right here is like when Squidward ran back to the Krusty Krab.
It really is.
I caught you now, SpongeBob.
Get a phone call from my grandfather.
The truth will be revealed.
I got curious and answered.
You answered, and...
Your grandma's passed out, he tells me.
Why is it red? I don't know. I'm scared.
I immediately start panicking. All I can think about is getting to the hospital, so I shake off Mika-chan and the bouncers.
By the way, you notice that some of these bubbles are popping?
Yeah, you can see them popping. It's just like, dude, my dude is like telling me his life story. I don't even know his name.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm begging you. Can I borrow your clothes?
I'll be the equivalent of Nick. Borrow your clothes?
Figures. I wouldn't
You
want
go
to
commando.
to a bubble man either.
Yep. So, can't you just go back to the soapland and get your clothes?
Yeah, about that. Apparently, running out the front door naked is pretty frowned upon at such an establishment, so I'm now banned from entering. I tried to go back in and get dressed, but the bouncers tossed me out, so
They won't.
here I am, stuck between a
And yet they won't give you back your clothes?
a hard place. If you won't let me borrow your clothes, can you at least take me to a clothing store?
I'm not taking you anywhere.
There's
Oh
no
my
telling how
God.
much longer.
You need to stay inside, dude.
I have to get clothes and hurry to the hospital before I'm hanging out for all the world to see.
In that case, why don't I just buy you some...
There's no time for that. What if something happens to my grandma while you're out shopping? And if you don't pick out something in my size, or my style for that matter, we'll just be wasting...
Who cares about style?
Who the fuck cares about style? You are out here bum-ass naked in front of all of Yokohama.
Believe me, I would. But it's too risky trying to get there without the bubbles falling off. And to top it off, What about all the wet pockets around here?
It's almost time for a 90 seconds Cheetos break, my dudes.
Fuck you, Bezos.
Oh.
Okay.
One puddle, one little splish of water. These bubbles get washed away and I'm arrested on the spot. And then I can kiss both my grandma and my freedom goodbye.
Well, it's not like you couldn't get arrested right now.
Think you can get me over to a clothing store while avoiding any and all water? I'm begging you. Please. Please.
There's a clothing store in the shopping district. Do I help the guy out? Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll take you.
Really? You're a lifesaver.
You just have to get to the store without getting you wet, right?
Yes, please. Oh, my name's Awano, by the way.
Oh no.
Well, let's get you dressed before you get arrested.
Okay. Gotta move carefully and avoid water at all costs. Dude. No one has this issue. Ever. How the fuck do you get into this? Do you not have another pair of clothes? Where are your keys? Oh, they're probably in your pants.
Yeah, it's like he just got thrown out, and they won't let him have his clothes back.
My dude, the fact that you don't have clothes, like, like that's only one of the problems that you find yourself in. You can't get into your house. You probably don't have your wallet. How did you get into this situation?
It's
I guess we'll find
time.
out after break.
Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raw rolls on after this. What the actual hell?
I told you it could get
Final
weirder.
Doom from
I
Williams
don't know.
is a
I feel
game
like that
chews you up
the
and
man
spits you
babies are
out.
still a
Like
cut
any
above.
Doom game, Final Doom is invincible,
Dude, he has
indestructible,
red bubbles around his
impossible,
you-know-what.
impenetrable. We're going to try
Around
to be
his
clever
boulders,
for the
yes.
rest of this review. Don't have a cow once you figure out what we're saying.
Listen.
Final Doom is just more of the same old Doom.
Listen, just
shoot 'em
don't leave up
action
much of
that
the
has spawned
imagination there,
countless
okay?
clones in the video game
Don't
industry.
use your imagination
The same
too
Doom
much.
enemies
Can't
that
trust it
inhabit
here.
All the other Doom
I'll be
games
right back.
of this Doom series are also in this Doom game. Doom it, we're sick of all these Doom bloody games with more Doom gunshots in 1 minute than we would otherwise hear in a lifetime. We're sick of all the Doom groans of the dead demons and the people you must shoot in the game. Doom it. These games make you Doom crazy, especially since they're so Doom hard. Normally, challenge is good, but not in this Doom game.
After this
Hardcore
sub-story,
Doomers
we're gonna
will be in
take a
Doom
small,
Nirvana.
like, actual
the game
break.
Is actually 3 games in 1. Master levels
One where I
from
can
the
get up and
internet,
stretch a little
Plutonia,
bit.
and TNT. All are extremely difficult. Hidden in the instruction booklet is a password that gives you all of the game's weapons. But even with that little gem, you will fail miserably. Don't worry, we're not going to Doom Williams, but let's just say it's time to put this series to rest. Of course, we may end up eating crow once Doom 64 comes out. And I mean Doom as in Doom in that instance.
Nom nom.
If you
Oh,
think that all
excuse
these
me, we're
Dooms are
back, my
bad,
dudes.
wait till you
Hey, welcome
find
back
out
to
what
Raw.
BFG
After this
stands
next
for.
sub-story,
The
we're gonna
BFG
take,
9000 is the biggest gun
like,
in the game.
you know, an actual break.
If Williams sees this segment, they will either A,
So that way I can
laugh
get
at
up and
all the
stretch a little
Doom
bit.
Dooms, B, put us on their to-doom list, C, doom us to Hades, or D, not do one Doom thing.
I'll be honest, chat. Talking about Casey's earlier made me want pizza now. But if I could go to Casey's and get pizza, right? I could. It's gonna be kind of shit, but I could do it. Okay. But, like, if I do, I'm gonna feel bad about myself. I know it. I know I'm gonna feel bad about myself if I get the 1 a.m. gas station pizza. Looks so good. Taken to get some clothes. So how in the actual get out there and get some gamer food? Listen. The 3 a.m. taquitos that have been sitting in the warmer for like 10 hours. I love some of those myself. But there are better things I could be doing. You know? I literally have like meals. I literally still have factor meals for days in there. I need to be eating. But I'm not eating then, because I'm over here thinking about the pizza that I have, or could have. Dude, where do you get clothes? I can't... I can't be buying clothes at the soup store like this, dude. This is some bullshit. You gotta keep up, brother. I can't be sitting there. I can't be standing here feeling concerned for your concerningly red lower region if you can't keep up. What the dude? How? Why is she just splashing water all over the place? Okay, we gotta maneuver.
Oh, now you're doing this.
We gotta maneuver. Okay. We need to lock in.
I mean, it says avoid all water, like anything that involves water.
We gotta lock in.
Is he coming?
What?
Is he coming?
I don't know.
What's behind you then?
I should probably check. There he is.
Oh, there's one in front of you spraying water.
Yep. Oof.
No!
What are you doing? Over here.
Nope.
Back onto the street.
I didn't hear about that.
You're spared these days. Rather, you're spared on this day, bikes.
Stop! There's a fire truck.
What is, dude? What's the fire truck spraying? What's it spraying?
Water.
Nothing. What exactly is it hosing down? Oh no, I need to obey traffic laws.
Oh, is it doing a mock thing?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
Right, you're good. Go. That's it right there to your right.
Oh. Okay, we made it. Phew. I'm glad we got you here without you, hanging out. Thanks a million, Kazuka-san. Be right back. Sure, go ahead. I'm coming, Grandma! Wait, are they really gonna let him shop like that? No, there's no way. There's no way. Ew, you pervert! Get out of here! Wait, please, I just need to buy some clothes. Here we go. Kazuka-san, tell her it's all a misunderstanding. They're gonna lock me up at this rate, and just when we got to the store. This shit just doesn't end, does it? Look, about my friend here.
Don't think the first two options are really that good.
It's a long story. There's a reason this dude's naked. Is there? Yeah, his grandma just passed out. He was in the bath and when he got the message and couldn't ignore it, so he ran out without thinking. His grandma passed out. Yeah. Do him a favor and sell him some clothes, please. He's already made enough of a scene. I'm just trying to keep this fool... I'm just trying to help this fool get to the hospital to see his grandma. Yes. That right there is the reaction.
Yeah, that is the correct response.
Okay, I understand. In that case, right this way. Just put some pants on at least. Man, say something ridiculous with a serious face and people will buy just about anything. There you go. Kasuga-san, I was able to get some clothes. Oh, that's good. But now that I think about it, how'd you pay for them? Weren't you naked? The clerk saw me crying while I was picking out clothes and let me put it on a tab. A tab? At a clothing store? I'm forever in your debt. And with that, I'm off to see my grandma. Yeah, get going. 10 hours is the prime time food, exactly. Nice and dry. That's when the flavor gets soaked in.
Gee. Christ, that was a whole ass thing. Go see Awano again.
I don't want, dude. I don't want to see him again. Okay.
Oh no! And look where it is.
I gotta go.
Go down.
Yeah, I gotta go back.
Oh God! Don't tell me.
I swear to God, if we have to help this guy again.
Welcome to Yakuza.
I'm trying to find like someone of a high enough level to use Nancy on. But I'm not gonna find it here, I know that.
Here we go.
Rambling man. Hey, we found Gits.
Hey, we found another Adachi.
Well, I said Gitsy.
Gitsy. Oh my God, yeah, you're right.
That was that rambling man.
We caught these guys ripping off Capcom.
Jesus, that was 4.
That was 4 whole men. It was 4 whole men right there. See, we're making bank. Eventually, we'll be able to pay for Sega School. I swear, if I come around and I see this guy butt-ass naked again...
It's like, you're just about to be like, let him die.
If he dies, he dies.
It's like the Obama, just like the Obama, then perish.
Then perish?
You're gonna be in a world of hurt.
Yes, do it. No. Oh my God, you almost killed them all.
I got almost all
right
of
at
them.
the end.
Nice.
Let's go.
More money. Hell yeah. Hey! Hey, I can buy the new bag. Although we're...
Oh, you're also almost 13,000 yen away from being able to do the Sega thing.
Oh my God, yeah, you're right. It's not 20,000, it's 30,000.
Yeah.
This shit... Dude, dude, why is school so expensive?
Gee, I wonder. If you want to spend the money on...
Why the hell is higher education so expensive?
Again, gee, I wonder.
Another anklet. That's a weapon?
Apparently. It was for a job you don't have yet. Oh my God, look at the stat increase in comparison.
Yeah, I know. Now she can hold her own.
And now we're back at square one.
Listen, it's worth it. Okay, good.
Okay, good. I was also gonna say the same thing, like...
Yo, if it isn't Awano.
Oh, Kasuga-san. Nice to see you again.
So this is the Kasuga-san that helped you.
That's right, the very same. I wanted to say thank you. My grandmother's alive and well and out of the hospital.
And that was quick.
Good to hear.
I heard about how far you were willing to go for this silly boy. Sorry for all the trouble.
No, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he's a silly boy, alright.
My, I didn't know gentlemen like you still existed. Here's my thanks for taking care of my grandson.
Mysterious blush.
You sure? Thank you very much. So where are you off to now?
Huh? Oh, well, I'm gonna take my grandma somewhere special to celebrate her recovery. Where would you like to go, Grandma?
Let's see. A hot spring would be lovely.
A hot spring? Yeah, I could go for a bath. Well, we should get going. Take care, Kasuga-san. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Take care of your grandma.
Of course.
Sheesh. Didn't know bathing could run in the family.
Oh my God. Okay.
Stories to tell. Hey.
We already did 10 of them? That's crazy.
I mean, you've been at it a while, so...
Doesn't even feel like we've done that many of them.
Many of them were pretty short. Like, none of them have been that long. Right now, the longest one is with that other homeless person trying to do something for that kid. And
Oh yeah, we haven't seen him for a while, have we?
Yeah. You're still doing things for him. You need to get nails.
Am I even?
Because remember, you're trying to make a bookcase.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't even know where to find nails at this point. I feel like I kind of lost track.
It might be a daytime thing. Because
Yeah,
right now it's night.
Yeah, we have been playing. We've been playing this, you know, for the entire night end game. So.
Yeah, because remember, you started off during the day with the funeral, and now it's night.
I don't want to deal with them. I want to deal with, you know, guys that are on my level.
It's like time to get the hell out of here.
I can beat it! I beat it. Come on, you can... Come on, you have to be at least semi-competent. You're very incompetent.
Right.
No. I want to find someone that's on the level because I need to see if some stories only show up at either night or day.
Which makes sense, because all the Yakuza games are like where some stuff only show up during the day and during the night.
Nice knowing you.
I need to find guys that are on my level. I need to see Nancy.
The way that the male characters run. Just...
Yeah, it's great.
like watching a cartoon character.
Yeah, I know. Just put like goofy ass sound effects under it, and it's great.
Imagine one of us trying to do that in real life.
Here, I'll pull it up or pull something up. Where's like the Scooby laugh that I have in my server? Come on.
Okay.
Ah, that was poorly timed. Shit.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you get the idea. You get the point. Where the heck are we supposed to go there?
That way, yeah. You were on the right track. Okay, now it's just knocked over a cone. That cone had a family.
Did it? All its cone kids are now crying. Oh my god, more strugglers.
Here we go.
Close enough.
Take your best shot. Fight.
Try this on your side. Pull it together, gentlemen.
I got this. Yeah.
You're gonna get stomped.
Let's see. Pyro Belch.
Have fun with this. Take your best shot.
Oh, he's in the way! Hell yeah.
Oh, you got one more at the end there.
It's cool. Alright, pound mates. Even Nancy and her crawfish friends are here to get in on some pounding. Marvel at the beasties who prize pincers held aloft. What the rhinestemize and occasionally poison their prey. Oh my god, it's everyone. A friend! It's just a crawfish.
This one's amazing.
Ah, no!
The crawfish army!
Oh my god. Plague of pincers? What the fuck? All the animation. Joe! Ow! Ow. All the animation budget went into that.
Poison.
And they're all dying to like horrible poison. Come on, die to poison. Yeah! Yeah! That's awesome.
They all died of death.
They all died of ligma.
Hello, Mario.
Shut the fuck.
They all died of ligma.
I will find you.
You know where I live, so.
I will. Actually, no, I don't.
I live around the same area. I live in the same area.
You passed. I'm sorry, by the way.
No, I know, but I'm trying to go to survive so I can continue the relationship stuff too. So.
All right. Yeah, like, I know you live in the same state still and all that, but I don't know where your new house is.
Also, hey Ashley, welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting.
Ashley,
We just summoned a lobster to help us. So.
I know. I mean, trying to get that information on stream. I'm smarter than that.
Yeah.
Oh, you can check out the other one too.
I probably should, because one of them's
yeah.
pretty tough.
Let's see it.
What? Regrettably, I have to call a friend.
I summon you.
Keep your Kentucky Fried Fish away from me.
What's the matter?
Keep your Kentucky Fried Fish away from me!
Well, maybe your toy. Are you feeling fussy? Susumu-chan, you won't play with me? What's wrong? Are you hungry?
What the fuck?
I'm not backing down.
Cursed.
Yeah, it doesn't do any damage, but it debuffs all of the. You're on auto.
Cursed.
Right.
Absolutely fucking cursed.
Everyone.
Absolutely fucking cursed.
Devin asked, would a wrestling-inspired pizza restaurant succeed given Pasta Mania failed harder Ric Flair finance? I doubt it. Yeah, I don't think it would work either because...
I'd try it.
It feels too unique.
What I have to say is this, right? Because throughout the years, we have had restaurants that are just generically themed also to certain wrestling promotions. Like there was a WWF in New York and the restaurant that was in there, right? There was like the WCW restaurant as well, and obviously, you know, WCW closed. But
I think the biggest problem is that themed restaurants just don't work that much in America. Unlike in say Japan, because in Japan, themed cafes are all the rage. Kirby Cafe, Monster Hunter Cafe, Cafe Eorzea, Cinema Roll Cafe. Like, there's a lot of these kind of like company cafes that succeed, even if the food isn't that great.
That being said, even though I don't think it would really have much mileage, I mean, literally, like, the two major promotions back in the 90s had their own restaurants, and they didn't really last. I tried at least once, you know? Oh, that's mostly just because I'm a mark, not because I think it would be any good, right?
Yeah, I would too. Premium Sushi said you
We found it in the bathroom?
You found it in the bathroom! You could have got one for free!
Who the hell is leaving sushi in the bathroom? I don't want to eat that.
And remember, the guy that you traded Nancy for wanted that!
Yeah. I don't want to eat that. I wouldn't give that to him.
Are you sure about that?
I saved you, Nancy. I poisoned him with urine encrusted sushi.
Yeah, exactly, Ashley. Just and the theme cafes only work because Tokyo and has a ton of tourists. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I've seen so many of these themed cafes. It's insanity. But man, there's so many people have like so many different experiences with them. Oh, now you can talk with them.
All I'm saying is, if the Chow Garden one from Sonic 3 exists, I'd be going to that in a heartbeat. So.
I mean, I've already said that if I go to Japan one day, I want to go to that Monster Hunter Cafe.
There is, funnily enough, a Sonic-themed cafe in the city of Atlanta right now. It's kind of more like a dessert shop, really. But yeah, that's one that I wouldn't mind going to at some point.
Yay, drinking time.
What's it called? I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Hey, Ichiban, wanna grab a drink with me?
Sonic Cafe.
But you really know how to knock them back, Sachan. Promise me you'll keep it to one or two.
Oh,
Sonic the Hedgehog Speed Cafe.
More than that. It's not like I'm
in Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, that's a bummer.
Products.
So, hey, you're technically still a mama at a hostess club, right?
Yeah, but I didn't found the place. I was promoted to mama after Nonomiya saw that I was the best hostess there.
Their menu
if you're that good a hostess,
is not on their website. I'm trying to find it.
I ain't much for clever conversation.
I am paying attention to this. I'm
hard on
just
yourself.
curious.
It takes practice. I definitely wasn't a natural at it. But neither of us is looking for tips right now, so who cares?
Okay. So what's happening with the club now? Still going strong,
Check out our menu.
even without Nonomiya?
I've got the girls holding down the fort. They should
They
be
got
fine
chili
barring
dogs
any
there,
earthquakes.
which of course you need.
Or ex-boyfriends.
Oh,
Jesus.
pretty impressive that you trust your staff to
You got
run
chicken
the whole joint.
tenders.
They know the basics of the business.
Sonic the Hedgehog's
I'm the kind of
adventure
mama
fries,
who
which are
teaches
chili
her
cheese
youngsters
fries.
Well.
I'm gonna pause this real quick so I can look this over. I want to pay attention to this.
Although not wrestling related, referee John Cohn owns a restaurant called Dune. Yeah, it's not unbelievable for many of these people to own their own like businesses on the side and stuff like that. Just that themed restaurants are very tricky in America, unfortunately. Like many of them don't do very well. And it's either because there's just not much interest or the food is bad. Like the atmosphere is not enough to cover the really bad food.
Okay, but like, listen, I would go for Sonic the Hedgehog's classic chili dog, a chili cheese dog. I would try that once, even though it's probably just a normal chili dog.
Again,
Goes
as I've
with
said, if
Fearless
I
Dog.
go to Japan, I would love to go to the Monster Hunter Cafe. And I don't know, there's not that many themed cafes I know of in Japan that I would like to go to.
With mozzarella, pepperoni, bacon, and marinara sauce. Oh my
Hard Rock
gosh.
Cafe is one of the exceptions that is fairly. Yes, but they've still had many of their cafes close, like within the last few years. Mostly due to COVID, but still, yeah, a lot of businesses struggled during.
Here you have like a lot of like different sodas here, as well as like specialty drinks, like a peaches and cream shake, mocha milkshake, a blueberry slush, and they're all themed after Sonic.
Yeah, I see that. They look cool. That's pretty cool, actually.
And and this is in Atlanta. This is one I would like to go to at some point. You get like combos here too that come with like shirts and shit.
Kinda funny, but it's like theme parks obviously do the best with this kind of thing because that's their whole thing.
Ultimate fried form combo. This shit would probably get you sick, but I would love to try it.
Speaking of theme parks, that's something I really want to do one day. Is go to the Universal in California, check out the Mario Land area.
I would love to do that too.
If we had more time during the BabsCon trip, maybe. Or we could just say fuck the con and go to it one day.
I mean, I'm fine with just saying fuck the con and going to Universal Studios or rather no, I'm going there one day. So I'm all right with saying fuck BabsCon. I want to go to Universal.
We'd have to plan that out, but yeah. I wouldn't mind because remember, we had plans to go to Universal in 2019 because I was like, hey, let's skip going to BronyCon in 2019 and go to Universal. And then we found out it was the last one, so we were all like, yeah, never mind, we're going to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I wouldn't mind just doing that. Hard Rock Cafe is one of the exceptions, as it is fairly successful. I haven't seen a Hard Rock Cafe in a long time, though. Although, to be fair, I don't really go too far outside my area, mostly. So.
Yeah, and that's why I said, like, yes, but they've also lost a lot of restaurants, including the one that's in that's in Universal. Like, the Hard Rock Cafe in Universal, that one went out.
Did it? No, come on. I remember going to that one.
I remember it was a large one. I think it was the one in Universal that went out. All the stuff was sold.
Dude, that's insane. I remember going to that one. I went to one when my school visited Nashville. I probably went to the one in Nashville too. No, I went to the one in Louisville.
Let me check it out because I don't remember if it's it's still there. They probably were able to reopen it because I remember one in particular closed and it was because of COVID.
Well, COVID got a lot of restaurants or just a lot of things. So.
Oh yeah, like it didn't matter if you were a chain business or not. Like you were like so many businesses.
COVID came for everyone.
COVID's like these hands are rated E for everyone.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
It's not rated E for everyone. Yakuza. You need to be at least 18 to play that. But we're all 18 here, hopefully. So let's continue it.
If you do say so yourself.
Well,
feed the people I'm feeding the people shit.
Of course, it was that desire to educate that caused all the drama.
There's this cafe in Anaheim that had a Homestuck event a few years ago. That's
all
crazy.
The stuff with Nanoha and your dad? that you mentioned before?
Remember Sunlight Castle, that assisted living facility run by the Siryu clan. I know how it worked as a self-willing hostess,
Yeah.
so she could afford it.
At least things have simmered down among us recently. Thanks to you guys. My dad's in a real nursing home now, and Nanoha's looking for a more legit job like she had before.
So you call them pretty often?
Oh, no. Never. I just have my hostesses secretly check in on them every now and then.
Still disconnected.
Nanoha doesn't want to see me. She'd be furious.
Why? You two really can't get along?
That's an understatement. I haven't seen her in 7 years. I do call her up sometimes, but she never wants to meet in person. I'd like to, though, and I tell her that. She turns me down every time. Guess I have no one to blame but myself, really.
I'm listening.
It's a boring story. You sure you want to hear it?
I'm all about boring stories. I'm here to listen, Sachan.
That's right, you do. I don't care if it's so boring it puts history professors to sleep. As long as it's from you, I'm all ears.
So I have your express permission to rant for the next 10 hours, and you'll sit here and listen?
Oh my god, she's about to trauma dump.
Hell yeah.
As much as I like wrestling, I've only been to 2 house shows. One in 2014 and one in 2017. The first one was good, though a lady accidentally spilled her beer on me during the match between Kane and Daniel Bryan. That's, you know what? I like stuff like that. I enjoy it like when there's just like little things about, you know, certain things you go to that aren't necessarily ideal, but make them kind of, you know, memorable, right? Like I remember back in a few years ago during the spring of, I think, 2021 or so, my brother and I went to like, we went to see one of his favorite jam bands. And the concert got rained out. It was about to get rained out the first time, and then they tried to play through most of the set. And then they were rained off the stage, and then the show was just like given a hard stop at some point because the rain was just so bad. But I remember that show more than most because that was when I was like literally dancing in the rain with my stepbrother. And that was probably one of the most fun times of my life. That's one that I hold very close to my heart. So, yeah. It's kind of fun. There can be fun when things don't go as planned, but you know, if you're having fun still, then that can make them more memorable, I feel like.
Well, that's sweet of you.
Thanks. So go ahead.
Rapidly, he's becoming Fluttershy.
Hey!
Leveled up in kindness.
leveled up.
Indifferent. Tolerant.
Tolerant.
I always had something to say about everything she did. My mom was sick throughout our whole childhood, so I felt like I had to take care of my shy little sister.
Little sister? But you're the same age, unless there's a new kind of twin I don't know about.
Of course we're the same age. Her personality just always made her seem younger. She was so timid. I was the one with the guts, just like Mom. It's probably why Mom trusted me more than Dad. He was closer to Nanoha since she took after him.
Twins don't always, you know, come out at the
Dad
same
wasn't
time.
earning much from the
So
little
there is
company
still
he
an
ran
idea
back
of
then.
older and
I
younger.
tried to help him out by getting a part-time job.
This is usually by minutes.
Didn't take me long to figure out nightlife entertainment was where the real money was. Pretty soon, I was essentially the breadwinner of the family. And after Mom died, even more so. All I wanted was for Nanoha to get into a good college and live an honest life.
But you think that came off as controlling to her?
Yeah. I told her which college to go to. Insisted she become some sort of white-collar professional. But the straw that really broke the camel's back was me chiming in about her new boyfriend. I listed every red flag I could possibly think of, then I asked her if the dude raised any of them.
What, like you made a physical list?
Yeah. Stuff like being dirty, acting douchey at restaurants, condescending towards women, always name-dropping. There were a lot. I went too far, honestly. But you know what? The bastard did fit a lot of them. She was like, oh, but he's getting it together. He's starting a consulting firm. But I told her to dump his ass.
I'm betting she didn't like that.
No, she did not. She threw stuff, screamed herself hoarse, cried. Even my freaking dad cried seeing all the drama.
Ooh, jeez. It was that intense?
It's almost time for a 90 seconds Cheetos break, my dude.
He was
Is it?
embarrassed
Fuck.
I made more than he did. I remember, after he found out what my pay was, he just started doing whatever I said. And then all of a sudden, during this fight, he started sobbing about how he should have helped Nanoha break free from me.
Sounds like he was finally letting out everything he'd bottled up.
Yeah. And it turned out Nanoha's boyfriend problem was just the beginning.
We'll see what the rest of that story is after this.
It's break time. Where the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raw rolls on after this. I was waiting for an out.
Waiting for an out.
I was, because we needed to do the ad.
I wonder if someone has ever
It's
thrown
no
beer
big
cans at a
surprise that
WWE
IDOS is
AEW
moving
show.
up the
Well, I can tell you
video game
this.
food
People
chain.
threw
Considering
toilet
last
paper
year's
at
Mega
an
Man Tomb
AEW
Raider,
show.
the
At
sequel
Ricochet.
uses the same formula to great success.
And we
with
do
minor
remember that
control
one time
changes for
when Cody threw
sidestepping,
his weight
and of
belt into
course,
the crowd and then
all
they
the
threw
They
it back.
threw it back.
The game
That's
starts
the
off
funniest
with
thing ever,
ancient
dude. It's
China.
great.
A dragon attacks the
Yeah,
Great
that was
Wall,
when
and a
AEW fully
soldier
turned
notices a
on
dagger
Cody.
embedded in his
Yeah, that was
chest.
when, like,
Oddly,
I mean, that was, like,
dagger
loud and
results in the
clear.
dragon's death.
Just
Weird.
like, we're not buying what you're
You
selling
play
anymore.
Lara Croft, complete with front-loaded
Didn't
anvils,
NGF throw
searching for the
a
dagger
tequila
centuries
in a
later.
kid's face, or
Your
was
path
that
to the
water?
dagger will take you
I would
just
have to
about
imagine it's
everywhere.
water, because
That
if he
snow
threw
speeder kicks
if he
a
threw
major
booze at a
you know what.
kid,
Tomb Raider
that
has
would
slightly
be
more action than exploration
pretty
this
bad.
time around, but you may not
Yeah.
notice the difference.
Because-
This is good, because that way
Because that would
everybody's
probably
happy.
be like lawsuit
Obviously, we're
territory,
giving Tomb Raider
you
2
know?
a good review. We fully expected to do so. We knew the
Because
game
not
would be
only are
great,
you
and it
throwing
is, and we've only
throwing
just scratched
alcohol
the
at someone
surface.
that can't
In
have
answer
it,
to Lara's giant earrings, however, we have a challenge.
but you're
to
also,
IDOS.
you know,
In Tomb Raider 3,
doing it
create a
without prompting.
storyline in which Lara gets breast cancer. Imagine the drama of a vulnerable Lara Croft still persisting in her worldly adventures despite her illness. It needs fleshing out, no pun intended.
In my
but
opinion,
we
the only
guarantee
thing
the
you should
gaming
throw
world will
into
be
a ring
shocked,
is streamers.
stunned, and moved at the
I
effort to
think
make
that them
Lara's
throwing
character
toilet
more
paper at
human.
Ricochet was very
excuse
fun.
me,
But
back
it's
my
about
dudes.
time the industry had a
It was
big shot
very,
for a change.
it was very crucial in
It's
informing
no
his
shock
current
that Tomb Raider
character.
2 is excellent. Everyone should buy it. Period. The
Because
end.
Ricochet's Ricochet's current character can be summarized like this. He is a former WWE guy that was told that he would thrive in AEW, but upon arriving, he kind of struggled to find his place within the roster because even though he's great, he didn't stand out like he did in WWE because there's a lot of guys in AEW that wrestle like him, right? And so, the fans kind of, they kind of went sort of cold on him and started turning on him after a while. And it was through that sort of a perceived betrayal that Ricochet just kind of used it to facilitate his current heel run. And he's finally found his groove. He finally found his groove. I think that he is at his best when he's like this, when he's like this, I'm a bitter snot-nosed punk, you know? So yeah.
Because in that moment, I realized my family was distancing themselves from me.
Sachan.
It was, 7 or 8 years ago when I decided to leave home and just focus on work. Imagine how it felt when Nonomiya called and told me about this new family trouble. How Nanoha chose to work at a soap land instead of asking me for help. I was shocked. I really was.
Just in case it ever comes up, we're all supposed to pretend you don't know she was working at Otohime Land, right?
Knowing my sister, she'd die of embarrassment if she found out I know.
Well, then the charade must go on.
I think I had one too many after all. I didn't plan on talking for so long. But
Healers Force and alcohol, it would also burn someone's. Yes, it
Yep.
would.
Again, lawsuit territory.
Because it's alcohol, so yeah.
Yeah, again, like not only would you be throwing it in the face of someone who's not supposed to drink it, but you also risk harming them. So. Hey, cool. Level up. feels his bond with Saiko growing stronger. Saiko will now gain more experience when she's not in the active party. I mean, I don't think that's going to be changing for a while, but, you know.
Well, now you can talk with Namba and Adachi.
Well, before we do that, I do want to take a small actual break because I want to get up and pee and stretch a little bit. So
Plus, we've got about an hour left. Yeah.
Yeah, we have about 1 hour left. So we'll go and pee and stretch, and then we'll come back and finish off the stream. Hopefully everyone's been having fun so far. This game has been incredible to experience and see just how weird it gets. I know we haven't done a lot of story stuff on this, but that was on purpose because listen, it's not going to be Yakuza without some side shit. So, yeah. And hey, from that side shit, we got a crawfish pal. We helped a naked man find clothes. And we did some other stuff, too. And we'll continue doing other stuff here in a few minutes. See you in a few.
It's break time. Here's my dude. Om nom nom. Be with pack my dude.
Oh my god, I still summon Gitsy.
Summons a Gitsy.
Wait, which one did it summon?
Oh no.
Okay, I'm ruling out on that.
No, veto. We're vetoing it.
I'm vetoing it. We need to. No, I said veto.
No, go away.
Get out of here, Bort. Get out of here, Bort's nightmare. Okay. So, welcome back, everyone. We are going to be doing these social links here. We're going to do the one sub-story with the hobo and the soup kitchen cook. And then we're going to call it, all right? All right? All right.
Do it.
Maybe we'll do... Why the long face, Namba? Something on your mind?
Hey,
There's a bar by the...
You good?
Oh, Ichiban. Perfect timing. Guess you could already tell, but yeah. I've got to get something off my chest. You got a sec?
Welcome to Kazuga's counseling corner. I feel like he's been friends with Namba enough that he would be able to do this, right? I feel like,
same here.
I feel like they're at this level in their friendship at this point, right?
Yeah, I can believe that.
My god, I didn't expect him to sing.
What in the hell?
You're on Ichiban Kasuga's counseling corner, man. From trivial bullshit to life's worst catastrophes, one call solves it all.
What dumbass would ever go to you for counseling?
You! Why, good sir, you're the very first dumbass on the show.
Wow, what an honor.
Okay, for real though.
Charisma.
I'm all ears.
Promise you won't tell
I
a
love
soul.
that. It's just like, nah, but for real.
Okay, so last night.
See, that's how you know you're good friends, where you can get away with that.
Dragged my ass down here, but it was late. The bartender wasn't around, and so I'm sitting here all by myself. Then I start thinking, what would be the harm in helping myself to a small pour? Just a shot, really. Figured I could pay it back later, you know? That's when I see it. An unopened legend malt, shining in the dark like it had my name on it.
What's a legend malt?
A super high-end whiskey. The king of kings. One glass is at least 10 grand.
The king of kings.
Jesus.
I know, right?
10 grand for one fucking glass?
We'll convert that into USD. Is that like $100?
By the drop, dude.
I'll tell you right now.
You're right. But I took one anyway because who was gonna stop me? I poured just a drop onto my hand.
Put it in this year too.
He touched my tongue.
In
I went
2019.
straight to heaven.
Was
Yeah.
that good?
Best whiskey I've ever had in my life. A taste that I felt through my whole body. A fruity aroma that I can still smell if I
They don't
try.
have, damn.
I'm telling you, it was pure magic. All my cares.
Okay,
just
I found it.
melted away.
Yeah, roughly around $91.
They don't call it the
Man.
legend for nothing, huh?
It's almost 100
Packs
for a
of
single
legendary
glass.
punch too. Next thing I know,
That's my scotch.
an empty bottle.
Wait. Don't tell me you drank it all?
Drank all of it in one sitting.
Guess I blacked out or something. But the fact remains, I downed at least 100 grand worth of whiskey.
What'd the bartender say?
You think I actually told him? What's he gonna do? Hand me a bill that'll never get paid? What I did instead was I found the nearest mini-mart, grabbed the cheapest whiskey I could find, and replaced
Oh
it.
my god.
So, the whiskey in the legend malt bottle right now is...
Horse piss. To the brim.
Dude, someone's gonna find out eventually, you know?
I know. Why do you think I'm so stressed out? So come on, Kasuga. What would you do if you were me?
Oh,
if it were
boy.
me, I'd...
Just say an angel drank it. I don't think we're gonna. No.
Nah.
This is his time of need. He needs something. Stay calm and let things play out.
Let's see. If anything, I'd stay calm and let things play out.
Well, how is that gonna solve anything?
Think about it. Drinking whiskey like that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, right?
Well, yeah.
And whatever's in that bottle won't get discovered for a while. So why panic about it now? If you stay calm about it, I'm sure you'll eventually stumble on a solution.
That's weirdly reassuring, but also vague.
I'm telling you, don't sweat it. Things are gonna work out.
Okay.
He's very
I'll sit on it
smart.
for a bit. I knew you were the
I
guy.
probably would have been like,
Well, if it isn't my two
it is what it
favorite
is.
Vagabonds. Why are you two not drinking?
Your favorite vagabond.
We were just
Wow.
out some life stuff.
Damn.
At least you saved me a seat.
Of course we did.
Like, damn, girl.
I'm in the mood for something.
She's already warming up to the group.
And I know this place has some.
I know, but just like she called them both vagabonds. Like,
Whiskey?
Yeah.
damn, girl.
Problem?
Not exactly a problem.
Good. I was thinking we could do something fancy for once.
For
You don't
once,
mean-
you've literally known me for like 12 hours.
I'll take a 12-year-old silver malt on the rocks.
You sure? It's 1,500 yen a glass.
What? A girl can't reward herself every now and again?
Oh, thank God.
We're gonna shit our pants every time someone orders a whiskey now, aren't we?
No doubt about that.
And man, Namba's just gonna be like having the fucking nightmare of a century.
Great. The bartender tried to kick me out, so I gave him the treatment, took his car and crashed into a lake. Did Triple H do that? It sounds like something Triple H would do.
Well, now you just got a Dachi to speak to.
We gotta play some karaoke too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's after we talk to Adachi.
Adachi-san, either I need my eyes checked or you actually bought a drink from the bar.
Hmm? Oh, it's just water.
Giving your liver a rest? That's rare for you.
Nah, it's only because I don't have the money for sake right now. Not even sneaking it in from the convenience store.
Damn, you're that broke, huh?
I forgot to set aside something for
Well,
this
we gotta go
one
beat
big
up more
expenditure I have
guys.
every
We'll,
month.
we'll make more money.
What expenditure? You in debt or something?
Nah, nothing like that. I've been sending Takashi money.
Oh, isn't Takashi-kun the son of the guy who was arrested on false charges?
Yeah, Kasumi. And he was arrested because I didn't believe Takashi's testimony.
Yeah, but you also tried to get Kusumi released, right? Or Nouchi's the one who shot it down.
Doesn't matter whose fault it is. Nothing will bring Kasumi back from the dead. And you don't know how shitty it got for Takashi. First his dad killed himself, then his mom passed away from grief. Poor kid ended up in an orphanage. Well, ever since then, I've been sending Takashi
Can you
money every
die
month.
from grieving too much?
Under a fake name, of course.
You
Genuine
can.
question.
That is an actual
Takashi
thing.
wouldn't accept
Like,
money from me.
you can go
I'm
through
one of the
enough
cops who
emotional
locked up his old
stress
man.
that
So
the
I
I
started
forgot what
sending
it's
money
called
to
in
him
your
under the
heart
pseudonym
can actually start to
Yamada.
tear. So yes, you could
Hell of a
literally
deed,
die
Adachi-san.
from heart stuff.
But
Like
wouldn't Takashi wonder why the heck some stranger named Yamada-san was sending money?
it's a real
Oh, I
like
didn't
thing.
overlook
A lot of
that.
people, it's just not very
I played
common.
this Yamada-san character as a rich guy with a passion for philanthropy. And it worked. Takashi took the money without thinking twice about it.
A passion for philanthropy, huh?
You're like Daddy Longlegs. What the hell does that mean? Maybe we
Have
should get
no
you suit.
idea.
I want to know what you're like Daddy Longlegs is like.
You're a regular daddy longlegs.
Eh? Wait, what are you on about? I mean, I guess my legs are long and...
He's a long
some
boy.
very specific situations, some people call me daddy, but I...
It's like a book. You never heard of it? It was about a girl who grows up in an orphanage and graduates college with the help of a mysterious donor.
Never took you for a reader, Kasuga.
Oh, I'm not. I had to read that book back in elementary school.
Well, it's impressive that you remember.
It reminds me a little of Great Expectations.
It's freaking
And his brain is growing.
Figured it was the least
Dumbass! Knucklehead!
Knucklehead.
I would describe it, especially now that you know.
Knock knock, it's Knuckles.
Well, that's a good point.
You know, isn't Takashi?
I mean, you have been
all
picking the
grown up
intelligent
already?
options.
He's,
I didn't even mean to.
25.
Don't you think he should be able to stand on his own 2 feet at this point?
Well, except now he's prepping for law school.
See, when I think of Daddy Long Legs, I think of the spider.
Yep.
You know,
Another blood-sucking.
Yeah, I did not think of a book. Like I've
like
never
a
heard of
harvester
that.
Maybe it won't corrupt him that much.
So,
Like I've heard of something similar.
You know,
If
he writes me
anybody's
a letter
read
every month,
Great
thanks me for the money.
Expectations, which has a
Those
similar
letters
idea.
are how I know he's trying to get into law school.
Maybe he was inspired to do that because of what happened.
I had to read that in.
I wondered the same thing. That's why I thought I'd keep helping him until he passes the bar exam.
Well, the bar exam's supposed to be pretty tough, yeah?
Yeah. Well, he's been studying his ass off for the exam since college. It hasn't been easy for him. He lives on wages from his part-time job and the money I send him. Doesn't go out or party, just studies.
Sure hope he passes then.
Hopefully he'll manage to do it this
This
year.
sounds like he's got his nose
Hopefully you'll
his
be
nose
okay
to the
sending him
grindstone.
money
Then
until it's gotta be rough.
Well, to tell you the truth, that's a big factor. If he can't support himself soon, I don't think my heart's gonna hold up under the stress of all my stupid money troubles.
No kidding. Now it all makes sense why you're broke.
No, thanks. Hope you're rooting for me, at least.
Yeah, of course I'm rooting for you.
Good. Then what do you say to buying me a drink?
Oh, I walked right into that one.
Come on, a clink of the glass would be music to my ears.
Fine, fine. Not like I can say no after a story like that. Hey, bartender, can I get in an order?
low-key manipulative.
yeah, I know. I mean, not as manipulative as Terry Funk stealing Akira's clothes on Wrestling Empire, then wanting money from them.
Hey, there you go. Now Adachi will get party.
Well, they already like did that though because we got him to level 2 before, or level 1. All right, let's see what let's see our options.
Hope you're ready for this.
Let's see. Sing.
Oh, hey, you got a new song for Psycho. Machine Gun Kiss. God, that song gets put up a lot in the Yakuza games. Same with Baki Matai, which makes sense.
Yeah. Wait. Adjust the pitch.
Oh yeah, and that's the difficulty. Casual's easy, passion is hard.
We gotta do passionate backup.
This one's my jam.
I mean, you play rhythm games, so this should be easy.
I'm gonna lock in, chat.
And you're literally missing words as you say that.
Evaporates, accelerate through this old highway city. You're killing it. You by my side, your tear-stained eyes, rouge running down your cheek, but baby tonight, everything's alright. As long as you're here next to me, my sweet baby, let's let go of our past and our future. This night has room for only two, you and me. So come and see. I'll show you paradise tonight. Not just one kiss, not two kisses, not 100. I've got a full clip of love for you, baby. Hold
Yeah.
on to me, and I swear I won't let go. I'll never let you slip away from me.
How many characters actually get this song in the Yakuza series?
Machine gun kiss, let's just fall in love.
Ow. I don't know why I cramped up so much there, but I did.
That's actually one of the harder songs in the series.
I cramped up
You only
really
get
hard.
80.
What the 99.65?
Yeah, near perfect.
Bro, who's getting these scores? Ow.
Not you.
Yeah, evidently not me. Didn't Terry Funk claim it was a prank even though he tried? Yeah, he charged Gira $1,000 to get his fucking clothes back.
But no, yeah, that's one of the harder karaoke songs to do. I can tell you that as
Have this. Mishmash lunchbox. Looks tasty. You sure you don't mind? It's fine. I make meals for the staff, but there was a lot left over. I hope you like it. His bento boxes are the best. He's got such a way with his hands, which just goes to show that looks can be deceiving. He even makes the prettiest bouquets. Why not stop while you're ahead? I'll tell you what though, if you bring me the ingredients, I'll whip something up for you. Sounds great. About cooking ingredients? Where would I get those? You can grow stuff in the planters outside the bar. Nobody's using them anyways. They get a lot of sun, so I'm sure anything you plant will sprout up. Take that with a grain of salt, of course. I've never been much of a green thumb. Well, that's why you want me to give it a go. It's just a thought. Here, have some tomato seeds I have left over from my efforts. If you manage to grow any tomatoes, I'd love to have some. Oh boy, there's gardening in this game too?
Yep.
You don't miss a beat, do you? Alright. Let's give this gardening thing a try. Check out any of Yokohama's numerous planters while carrying around seeds or bulbs to grow a variety of plants. Plants will grow over time and eventually be ready to harvest. You can even use special items to increase the fruits of your harvest, or make them take less time to grow. The bartender at Survive could turn your harvest into everything from bentos to Chinese medicine to flower bouquets. What a talented and mysterious guy. Wait, didn't I just do this? Take up a hobby of raising plants with some seeds. Yes, I know.
Yep.
The flowers you grow can be taken to the bartender at Survive to be arranged into bouquets. You can then give these bouquets to the different love interests Kazuka meets along his journey, to deepen your bonds with them. Who knows, you might even see some sparks fly. Wait, there's romancing in this game? Oh boy.
That's new to me. Like I said, I've never made it very far.
Well, I guess we're gonna see them.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, it shows you the ingredients you need and what can be made.
Onion.
Wait a minute, go up. It says it heals the entire party.
Yep. All of this, dude, all this food is for the whole party.
Okay, look, you have a mysterious carrot.
Luxury extreme lunchbox. 10 years in the joint and all that.
Kiwami. Wait, resurrection bolus.
Revives a fallen ally with full HP and full MP. Oh wow. Okay.
That is literally almost. That is so similar to a Soma.
You need so much though.
I mean, you're at the beginning of the game, so it makes sense. Like, once you start getting into the rhythm of this stuff, then it'll start making.
Sure.
But I guess let's check the planters outside. See what's up. Yep, there they go, behind you.
Salmon. All right, let's plant something. Got tomato seeds and pine seeds. I don't have any fertilizer. Begin DIY harvest. What? Let's see how it turns out.
Oh, I'm guessing it's like trying to make it without fertilizer.
Pine seedlings too.
Well, it just means you're gonna have to get some fertilizer later.
Yeah. What the hell is pine? What the hell are the pine ones gonna look like?
I mean, you didn't read it, but okay. Alright, back to sub-stories.
You have one more, and then we're gonna call it a night. Yeah, Terry Funk, like, literally just stole Gira's shit. And he wrote it off as a prank, and then asked for $1,000 for it back. That's a shit-ass prank.
Right, time to earn back that money. Samba, why? What the fuck ever do to you?
It stood in his way. It stood in his way.
Let's go. It's not extortion, yes.
Yes! Yes, Terry Funk extorted Gira, and now he's his manager. I probably should have thought of that before signing him on to be Gira's manager. He's just gonna steal Gira's shit again.
And also to think, remember, there's more sub-stories out there that'll probably get you more pound mates.
I really hope this is one that will get me a pound mate. I don't think it will be, though. I don't think Homeless Guy is going to be one.
Fucking crawfish being one is amazing.
It is.
Don't mess with the crawfish.
Apparently it
Oh
poisons.
God, I hate what just came into my brain when I said that.
Ah!
You wanna know what I said? You wanna know what I said in my brain?
What?
It's like, don't mess with the crawfish or you get the claw, bitch.
Oh my god.
Exactly why I hated that
That's
came to my
so
brain.
lame, dude.
I know. Why do you think I said I hate that came to my brain? I'm mad that I thought of that.
He hit him with the big meaty claws.
It's like that came into my brain, and even I was like, bruh, why?
Here we go.
What is that dad joke-ass bullshit you just said?
Come on. Knock him into the cars. Or just knock
yeah,
him.
She has way more damage now.
Man! That's impressive.
The difference a designer handbag will do for you.
I'm faster than a car.
What the fuck? Look how tall you are in comparison to that car.
Yeah, I know, right?
Who sits in that car? Kids?
I mean, what's the driving age?
Driving age? I don't know what the driving age is in Japan. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Okay.
Now you got me curious. Minimum driving age in Japan is 16 years old for cars and 16 years old for motorcycles and mopeds.
Okay.
Still, the fucking size of... Oh my god.
He couldn't...
failed to climb over.
He couldn't do it. My dude, he's an assassin. Run him down.
Begging for mercy now.
Shut up. My dude, we're fighting for our lives and the best they can do is honk at you. What the? Tissues? Huh? Oh. Oh, it's Kuroy. It looks like he's working hard. Get your tissues here. Oops. No! My bad. I didn't see you. Oh, no.
Oh, did that on purpose.
Yeah, I did that shit on purpose. Get your tissues here. Right here. Man. He's really getting pushed around. He must be real desperate. He's putting everything he's got into a job that's probably paying peanuts. I'm glad it's not me. It may not be glamorous, but I have to change. And for that, I need money. So no matter what anyone else tells me, I'm going to hand out these tissues. Slothful part-timer. Alright. Tissues. Tissues here. Kuroi's finally showing some backbone. I don't want to interrupt him on the job, though, so I'll just ask him about it at the park. Man, this one's a long one. One back and forth. This is a good one to end it off on.
But, yeah, he's showing confidence in his work.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember before, he was, like, soft-spoken and too timid to do anything.
Exactly.
Now he's at least willing to speak to someone he cares about and stand up for himself.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Cool. Well, we need to go all the way back this time.
We're in Koreatown.
Pretty sure that we don't have to save any fish now. I feel like that chapter in our life is over. We had a good run with it, but now it's over.
Treating like a crawfish is. Oh, they're a little closer. Oh, hey, capitalists!
You're gonna get
spirited medium?
You guys are gonna get pinched.
Oh, it's 1,000 yen to summon the crawfish.
That's honestly not too bad. Oh, that's mostly for the... You would mostly call Nancy for, like, poisoning.
If it works, because sometimes an enemy will be resistant to it.
That's an incredible scream. That is an incredible scream. I love that.
Plague of pinchers.
Ow!
I'm pretty sure this spirit median didn't expect this to happen today.
Ow!
You just killed 2 of them.
Yeah?
I play games that some of the end game summons cost $1 million. Yeah, I know what they are, and I'm not saying shit.
I feel like I know a couple of them, but I don't want to make any guesses. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I'm not saying shit because holy crap, they are so cool. But yeah, they are expensive as ball. But by then you gain access to a mini game.
Hello, Mario.
Millions all day. So,
Graduate.
Like for wings.
I am not. I'm not graduating. As in like VTubing. The giraffe is here to stay. Don't worry. How are you doing? Welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting. It's been a little bit since I've seen you here. What the fuck? Kazuka-san, I was waiting for you. Look at this. Now I can buy some clothes. Great job, but this probably won't get more like a shoe. Singular. No way. How much do you think I'll need? Well, if you go with something on the cheap, you might be able to scrape by.
Oh.
That low-end shit ain't exactly gonna win you any points. Oh, Terracotta-san. Wait, how did you know? As if it was a big secret? It's plain as the nose on your face. Anyway, never mind that. I came to give you this. The second shoe.
Oh.
Huh? It's from me and the other boys. Watch you go out there and earn like that. It was hard not to root for you. Terracotta-san. Good luck out there. Yes, thank you. Right on. Let's go get you some new threads. Okay.
Hey, at least he came through for his boy.
Yeah, exactly. He came through. Now, do I need to walk to the clothing store? Okay, no, never mind.
Nope.
Oh, hey.
It's the same clothing store too.
Oh, this looks familiar.
You're bringing this woman a lot of business.
I was about to say, this is the same, like, place that literally in the same night saw someone that just doing the dance like, I love you, Kazuka! yeah, it's like the fucking Jacob Fatu thing. I love you, Solo.
Wait a minute, this outfit. It's not bad, actually.
He pulls it off
He looks
well.
like a completely different person.
And he also shaved, too. Hey, not bad. You're like a whole new man. I'm so relieved. I should show Shirakawa-san.
Like, that's not a bad outfit. That's pretty much like almost like a business casual.
Yeah. He's looking good with the blazer. Just so happens it's a soup kitchen day. It's the same night. Perfect timing. Let's go.
I mean, that's not really a look I could pull off.
Shirakawa-san. Okuroi-san. Wow, look at you. You look amazing. Oh, thank you. With a reaction like that, I'd say we didn't do half bad. Hope this changes how others see him a bit. Be bad, Okuroi. This is still not done yet? Wow.
This is a long one, holy.
Long sub-story, but I want to see the end of it. I want to see if he gets the girl.
I guess move away and see like if it shows back up.
I'm gonna go beat up some guys real quick.
Yeah, low-level guys that have no chance of you.
Yeah.
This is just bullying at this point.
Business casual Friday at the soup kitchen. Come and bring a blazer and prove that you've been trying to get a job, and you'll get a free salmon donut.
The game says, I don't think you can advance it until daytime.
Oh.
I guess we'll check the map to see, but if that's true, then that means you have to press story to go further with it.
Well, in that case, we'll find some other way to end things off.
Yeah, it's gone. So there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a sub-story all the way up north to the right?
Dude, I'm gonna get slaughtered. We can't do that yet.
It says threat is 1. Is that true? I don't think that's true.
No, it's showing the threat of the current place I'm in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a substore all the way up there, but yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
I guess we can do a bit of story advancement and then we stop.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, I play games that says, "Oh boy, I know which one that is." Get to it eventually. Not right now.
Yeah, we'll get to it at some point.
This guy literally went to the Chinatown and ran into level 23 without realizing it. Like, he hit one once and was like, wait, they're level 23. Run the fuck away.
Yeah, I was about to get bodied by the Kung Fu Master again.
Again, you've died in him like 3 times in a row.
Yeah, like, I have died like twice, and both of those deaths have involved the Kung Fu Master. So, like... So like beating him is like my white whale, you know?
It's like maybe someday I'll beat the Kung Fu Masters.
The Kung Fu Master is my white whale.
Lots of properties on sale here. They even got a 4-bedroom with a living room, kitchen, dining room, and a yard. I'd love to live
in the city
someday.
Yeah. I don't know. Sounds a little too big.
I want to start going back. Enemies.
Prison got you to like small spaces, is that it?
Shut up, man. Think about it. You got your place now with the futon, toothbrush, and a cup of noodles all within reach. Or some big old house with all that shit separated by 5 rooms or something. Which sounds better?
The house?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I'm kind of with Ichiban on this one. I prefer smaller spaces over large spaces. I mean, I lived in New York entirely. I live in a former hotel that's now an apartment.
So you're used to living in small spaces. But no, I would probably want the house, honestly.
You would be non-butt Matt. Yeah, like in this conversation.
Yeah. I would be like, the house? Yeah, he got 2 of them. He almost got 3.
Yeah, just like, which sounds better to you? The place that has everything within, like, they have to go to 5 different rooms, or the place that has everything in, like, within arm's reach?
Or the place where everything is separated.
And it's just like, the house.
I want the house.
Yeah.
The house?
You live in a fucking house, man.
Yeah, I do live in a house. And I
You
enjoy
live in
it.
a fucking
A
house.
change of pace.
Maybe I'll splurge and buy some.
Oh, I like what you have on
Where are we
now,
showing up?
John. That stuff not enough?
Oh, I really like this outfit, but nothing makes you feel more refreshed than a new look, right? Don't you ever feel that way, Nanshan?
That's true.
Sure, I get that. Whenever I want to
Wait, stop.
pick up some new cardboard and rebuild the house.
Oh, yeah. That would be pretty refreshing.
Rebuilt
I mean,
the house.
Technically, yes, but no, not at all.
That's how you
Cardboard
have,
to
like,
rebuild. Cardboard to rebuild the house. Dude, we literally have a roof over our head. You don't need cardboard for a house
do a lot
anymore.
with cardboard. I remember I used a cardboard box to put my Xbox on top of when I was living with Ryan.
Well, there you go then.
People underestimate how good cardboard can be, and like, you know, when used properly.
Listen. Back in the old house, back when I used to live in the city, my dad and I, we put up like an AC unit using cardboard and like, you know, insulation foam. And you know what? It fucking worked. It fucking worked. It is good when you need to, like, you know, get stuff done yourself, you know?
Yeah.
What's up?
I can't seem to remember the title of this movie I saw a few years back. It was one of those real emotional rides, and I remember wanting to see it again. It was a boy meets girl movie. You're
Oh, and also I play games set, but you should get your party to about mid-20s before going there.
Sure.
What the hell are you talking about?
My pancreas wants to scream. I'm pretty sure that's just you, buddy.
Guy who wanted to quit drinking.
Nah, it was all about being young. What a nice time that is.
Well, I'll let you know if I ever spot it. Oh, was it, yo, my stomach's gonna blow? Maybe?
It's not about a stomach ache.
I don't think he's gonna remember.
I just find it funny, these conversations that can go on between them.
I know. It's great.
Hey, somebody help!
Yeah, we'll continue the story a little bit and then we'll call it.
Just shut up and hand over your wallet.
We might be going over a little bit from, you know, the 4-hour slot that I wanted to match, but yeah.
I mean, I'm loving the part just because it really does just come off as friends just shooting the shit with each other.
Yes.
Hey, don't you punks have anything better to do with
It's
your
kind of
lives?
funny because you really got to think about it, how like all four of them come from so like such weird like backgrounds.
You're with PartTimeHero.com, right?
Part-time hero?
Huh?
You lost me.
How to be a part-time hero? Hey,
I don't know what your
Well,
problem
hey, you know what? We get to finish a sub-story. We're ending off this whole thing just fine.
Beat him down. Right.
Oh, I thought. I thought that said like 15 for. No, I thought that said 35 for a second. I'm like, what the fuck?
I doubt it would be that high. I mean, granted, you ran into level 23s, but that was because you were in an area you really weren't supposed to be in yet.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Man. None of these status effects ever work on these guys. Walk into the fire.
They're kind of separated from each other.
Yeah, can't really do it. Nice.
Fuck.
With my big dildo bat. Enjoy it.
Dildo bat. Yeah, auto on again. Well, it's fine. Damn, 4,000 yen for that.
Man!
I feel the stats going up.
Hero's Vigor.
Nice.
Up.
Boot. Learn a character skill,
Fleeting
Fleeting
Beam,
Beam, Powder Puff Press. Powder Puff Press. As a barmaid. What the hell?
What?
The Powder Puff Press literally just sounds like a finishing move.
They're just out behind you.
Really kicked ass back there. Thanks, PartTimeHero.com.
Still don't know what this hero thing you're talking about is.
What? You mean Part-Time Hero didn't send you?
Ta-da-ta-da! Never.
What the hell? Super Sentai? Super Sentai?
Hero is here. Huh?
Featherman?
So this year's our bad guy, huh? Just look at him. Yep. Got the classic hungry gaze, low life outfit. What is it with that hair? Looks like he set off a bomb in front of his face.
Bro.
Actually, this guy right here, he...
Say not another word. For the glory of part-time heroes everywhere, I will vanquish this villain post-haste. Now put up your dukes. I'm no stranger to fisticuffs.
What the hell?
Let's do it.
Man,
Mysterious man. Mysterious man. Ah! Hey! Guy from PartTimeHero.com. Mysterious.
He's just wearing a mask while just wearing a suit. What, was he at work? And then just put that mask on and came over?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Looks
Powder
like he was
Puff
still on
Press.
shift.
Yeah.
Driving a powder puff into them, which may lower their accuracy.
Oh, it's that! You know, from a makeup kit.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Funny, actually. I like that.
Alright,
He
we're gonna...
basically just hit someone in the face with a bunch of powder.
Dude! Oh, hey!
Damn, okay. He guard! He was guarding.
Well, it didn't help him.
Dude, you could have waited and had enough to do that Sega thing now.
You're no ordinary thug, are you?
Damn.
I'm not a thug at all, man.
He's right. This guy here, he rescued me just now.
He rescued you? What are you trying to say?
Saying you should get me a job at at PartTimeHero.com. I don't even know what that is, but...
We still don't know what the fuck that is.
So it was all just a big misunderstanding. Sorry about that.
I can't do much in the way of an apology, but I'd be happy to treat you to some tea or what have you.
How's that make up for anything? I went through 2 fights just now.
You know what? You're right.
Not wrong.
I beg your pardon. Maybe I should introduce myself. I'm the president of Part-Time Hero Incorporated. Please call me Hero.
Oh my
Fun fact,
God.
I named this company both after myself and the concept of a hero. So clever, I know.
Okay.
Okay, I'll ask again. What is this part-time hero thing?
PartTimeHero.com offers a revolutionary service that puts you in touch with a hero, all from the comfort of your smartphone.
Puts you in touch with a hero?
That's what we call you when you register. You'll be taking on quests that people in need post. Upon accepting, it's your job to dash onto the
So it's
scene.
basically just like a...
The concept is...
It's a message board.
Well, it's an odd job service anyone can use. And it doesn't take much to start. You could choose to find pets or people if you'd rather stay out of trouble. I promise, it's rewarding work.
Huh. I gotta ask though, why make this service if there are already others like it? What sets you guys apart?
Well, what really sets us apart? It's our mission to clean up the town, stopping trouble before it starts.
So it's like bounty hunting then?
In a way, yes. What you did just now, fighting off those thugs, that was actually a quest posted by a client. Ijincho, as you know, has an exorbitantly high crime rate. That's why I started this thing up. And what do you know? It works.
Makes sense. Now I know why that guy thought I was all
Profiteering off of
part-time hero
vigilante
now.
justice.
Well, that's another thing. The fact that there
I
are
mean,
still
considering that the
good,
cops
honest
are
people
literally
like you
not
out
willing to
there,
do anything.
it reassures me.
You know what? That's true. They're all bought and paid for.
Heroes left in the world.
Yeah, all I did was punch a guy who was starting to piss me off. Anyway, see ya.
Wait, please, just a minute.
What now?
Well, if it's not too much to ask, would you be willing to work for me as a part-time hero?
So you want me as your muscle? That it?
Essentially. We've been getting rave reviews, so we always have an influx of new quests. But since true heroes are in short supply, it means we're short-staffed. The biggest struggle is finding someone capable of actually winning a fight. Since these heroes are rare, a lot of our clients are
I mean, this
still
guy put up a pretty good fight, all things considered.
Yeah, he's the founder.
This
So.
city is full of crime. People just don't know what's waiting.
Hello,
for them.
Mario.
Believe me.
Why he look like
I want to
that?
help as much as I
I'm like-
can. But I'm
And it's because he's the founder of a thing called PartTimeHero.com.
You've got more than what it takes.
This feels like Zillow, but for like vigilante justice.
And let no
I mean,
evil go
again,
unpunished.
cops ain't gonna do shit here
That's
in
true.
Jinjo, so fuck it.
That's true.
And
Fuck it, we need Spider-Man.
You'll receive compensation. of
Spider-
course. It's a job that feels
I don't know
satisfying.
why that sent me.
because there's a Japanese Spider-Man that's literally just Super Sentai. So, have you ever seen it?
I don't know why. No, I have not actually.
We need to chat. We need to show Nelson Spider-Man Sentai. It's literally the greatest thing ever.
Just like, I don't know why that sent me.
Spider-Man, also referred to as Japanese Spider-Man or Toei Spider-Man, is a Japanese live-action superhero television series. Produced by Toei, loosely based on the Marvel Comics character. The series aired for 41 episodes on Tokyo Channel 12 from May 17, 1978 to March 14, 1979. The theatrical episode aired, so on and so forth. While Toei's version of the character wore the same costume as his Marvel Comics counterpart and had similar powers, the series' storyline and the origin of his powers differ from the source material. In addition to fighting, he piloted a giant mecha leopardon, which he would summon to fight off in large versions of the show's monsters. A giant robot concept would later be used in Toei's Super Sentai franchise. So wait, Spider-Man did it first? Wait, did Spider-Man do Super Sentai before Super Sentai? No. No. Super
So
Sentai
much
came first.
take my...
Do you mind? I'm trying to read here. Inconsiderate freaking... Ow. We don't want to skip.
No, don't skip.
So what do you say? Will you keep this city safe for all of us?
I will show you Super Sentai Spider-Man. I don't feel like I can show it here because Toei takes no prisoners.
Okay, this might be a way to get the money you need to go do the Sega thing.
Not sure how much help I can be, but why the hell not?
That's what I like to hear. Okay then, let's rescue this city
So
together.
the warrior of cans, who is now a hero, has now become a part-time hero.
Then allow me to fill you in on the details.
Moving up in the world. Part-time hero quests. Complete part-time hero quests will net you rewards such as money and items. Quests will automatically be received depending on the state of your progress. These can be chucked under part-time hero quests in the pause menu. Quests. Support quests include delivery quests, in which you'll be tasked with delivering specific items, while rescue quests include takedown quests, in which you'll need to defeat specific enemies throughout the city. Upon completing these tasks, report back to the reps at locations such as convenience stores to mark the quest as completed. However, urgent takedown and delivery quests do not need to be reported to the rep. Certainly follow the person you help to mark the quest as completed. Each quest you complete earns you member points. Collecting these points improves Kazuga's member rank, granting him access to special weapons and more rewarding quests. Take on tougher quests to earn more member points at once. Challenge quests involve various missions based on everyday tasks, and when they are completed, your personality will improve in accordance with each entry. Rewards for challenge
like
quests.
And that's about it.
These are basically just challenges like in Zero.
Save the day, hero. Right on.
This is giving me like Zero
I like
vibes.
where this is going.
Wait, why are there so many cats here?
Cash. And it's nice being called a hero.
I mean, why not?
Listen, they're also super.
How to be a part-time hero.
Oh, cool. Oh my gosh.
Damn, look at... Oh my god, I think it's because you did a bunch of shit before this, so you just got a bunch
Dick.
of level up. Dick. Garish, indecisive now. Tolerant, considerate. Damn, look how many challenges you got done. Damn.
Her body is a temple, standing firm. Dude, where are all these things coming from?
Part-time hero. I think it's because you've been doing this stuff in the background, and now we're starting to get the rewards for them.
Yeah. My gosh.
God damn. Rescue?
Challenge.
Oh, you did a lot of battle challenges and stuff. Chatty.
Oh, these... Well, these are for,
you
like,
just got a bunch of
stats.
challenges done. Defender of Yokohama. Trained. Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of stuff here.
There's a lot of stuff you
Competent.
got competent.
I'd argue... I don't know about that one, Chief.
Downtown tourist.
I feel like we're gonna keep getting notifications here for a second, so I'm gonna find someone to raid.
Training. Oh my god.
We're getting so many notifications.
Digimon Scholar. No wonder you got so many fucking stat upgrades and such.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Fledgling freelance. Wait a minute. Check your money. I want to see.
Let's check the money. Yeah.
Nameless hero. Okay, you're at only 15,000 still. It seems like a lot of these challenges are just basic stuff.
Yeah.
Heroic hero.
As opposed to a normal hero. Legendary hero. Dude, why am I getting all the... Dude, what are all these in?
These are challenges.
Battle.
And Consolidator?
Can Conqueror.
Conqueror. Hey, all that time doing cans came in hand.
Oh my god.
Can Satyr. Oh, 300. Brave Guard. Can Collector. Dude, 1,500 cans! Look at that.
Can Crash. Probably means, like, I don't know.
Mini games, let's see. Oh, there's Can Crash. Ram into other can collectors 10 times in Can Quest. Oh, and there's one for doing 50. Cerberus Cup Champion, what is that?
How do I get kindness for that?
I don't fucking know.
Karaoke
what is that
all
one?
day.
Cerberus Cup.
Cerberus Cup Champion. Today's... Oh, that's like the Mario Kart stuff.
Oh, Virtual Fighter 2 Casual.
I wouldn't even call myself that, but you know what? That's very kind of you.
Hey, Zep.
Hi, Zep. We're unfortunately ending things right now.
Damn, okay, I think that's all the challenges cashed in. Holy shit.
We're gonna go and raid into someone before the ad begins. Let's go raid into...
Holy shit.
Let's go raid into Mr. Doe. He's playing a Sega game. It's Typing of the Dead.
Ooh.
We're gonna go and do Typing of the Dead. Thanks everyone for freaking joining us tonight. I'm having a fun time with this. We'll be doing more of it on Saturday. Although, until I get a job, we're gonna be doing 3 days a week of streaming. So join me on Tuesday when we will be doing more Wrestling Empire. Envoy Club Love. You know what it is. I've been Giraffe Steph. He has been 947 AK Wolfking. See you later. I'm sorry I have to rush this. Bye.
See you, everyone.